My chair's too tall. You know, that's what it was. My chair's too tall. Hi, how are you? Maybe it's not too. I think it's too tall when I'm using this camera. But then I think it. You know what? That's not the point. The point is, hello, hello. I am Trooper Jess SJP, and this is the Academic Foxhole. And welcome, welcome. Hi. How are you all doing? What is new and exciting? It is Saturday. I think it's Saturday. It is. It's Saturday. Yes, the chair is too tall. But it wasn't. It is. I mean, it kind of just depends on which camera I'm using, probably. Maybe not. I don't know. PH probably knows it all. Uh, let's see. My parents never get kids at the door on Halloween or Rummelpot at New Year's Eve because my childhood home is not directly on the street. But that's never stopped my mom to buy a bag of candy just in case. Do you have kids doing wandering the streets looking for candy in Denmark? You're in Denmark, right? All I know is he's called the Stig. Wait, who's called the Stig? I'm learning something about holidays, but I'm missing some context. Who is the Stig? Y'all, I just had a weird thought. I wanted to put on a seatbelt, which really makes no sense at all because um, because I'm not in a car. Oh, that's a top. Oh, the Stig is the Stig. Uh, unlike me, because I know nothing. Um, Stig was the mystery driver. That's right. But that's different from Racer X, though, right? Because that would be Speed Racer, which is also fine. It's also fine. Always buy the candy because you never know when people will show up at your door. Unless you live in a dorm, in which case you don't have to worry about it. Like I live in a dorm. Y'all, how are you? We're playing the Outer Worlds today, and today we are going to finish Gorgon. Probably. Maybe. I'm not even quite sure. Perhaps not. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. So here are my thoughts. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Wait a second. Well, I don't think it matters here, but what day is today? Today's Saturday. The next time I stream off of OBS will probably be Thursday, right? Right? Which means we don't need to swap this. No, I won't. I won't. I won't swap it. It's fine. We're gonna stay where it is. We'll just have to probably swap it on the next page. It's fine. Um uh yeah, like 3:45, 3:30, maybe 3:30. Like we'll see where we are at 3:30. At 3:30 we will assess to see if we need 15 more minutes. Uh so chat, I have to go to real life gaming and theater today. You have to make sure okay, so wait. It's like life is like trick or treating. You never know what you're gonna get. Wait, I have a question. Brissa, I have a question that's very important. Could you share with the class what game you're playing and then also what you're going to see at the theater? What I want to know. Ice Bunny says, yes, our own tradition would be snacking candy at the carnival. Rumpelpot is specific for Schleswig-Holstein. And the last 20 years, Halloween is a thing, but like in the UK, mostly for kids elementary age, so I don't make it all bloody. Kids elementary age sometimes like bloody things, at least if you're from my generation, we did. People say, oh, I had a thought and I forgot what it was now. I had a thought. Orient Express, but converted to Cortex Prime. Oh yes, yes. I I have a question actually about all that. Um, Speaking of which, we do that. Yeah, no, I have questions, and I think the main question I have is, are you enjoying it? Like, is that how are you feeling about Cortex Prime? How is that going? Share things if you like. I At this moment, however, I'm going to start the game. What I think I'm gonna do, mainly because then we can we have to walk, and I figured we can walk and talk because I have things I want to know. But right here, I need to swap the audio so you can hear it. But I think it'll probably be too loud for you, so I'll turn it down. Ooh, you know what? I did not do. Oh gosh, thank you for the reminder, Rissa. I did not swap out our Nightbot commands. Let me pull up. Oh, let me come back here because if I pull up my browser, it might show up in the wrong space. Oh no, it didn't. It's all right. Here, Nightbot. Let me fix that. Before we've actually officially started, let me fix that. Nightbot. Boom. Hey. Oh yeah. Something went somewhere. Didn't like it. It's fine. At this moment, there's something I cannot see. Oh, I see what happened. I see what happened. That's interesting to note. What do we got? Oh, all right. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. I'm not worried. You shouldn't be worried. That and this should be video game content, and this should also be video game. I should probably rename that. No, I can't. I can't rename it. And since you just reminded me, thank you, by the way, for reminding me, I need to go here and change our box. That's all. And then once I change the alert box, then we're good. We're gonna hang out together. Just all of us together. I'm just going to alert box. Boom. Manage themes. The one I use because of the RIAA. And we should be good. And then I can do that. And then I can do this. And then like that. Okay, good. Theater is Come Fall in Love, which is a Bollywood musical converted for the stage, sing at the Old Globe. Oh, nice. I already shared the Nurse display. Nice. Cortex Prime, interesting so far. Watching you run Fate has helped me wrap my head around the concepts. Yeah. Do the students not go trick-or-treating? Students don't go trick-or-treating in the dorms because none of them want to buy candy for each other. They probably just go out drinking. What they usually do is go to parties. They go to parties, is what they do. That's something you do at a Rumpelpot when you're of drinking age. So instead of any house, you go to get schnapps instead of candy. Oh yeah, no. They just go to parties. You sound a little froggy. Too much talking last night? Or touch your head cold? No head cold. I have been burning the midnight candle on both ends for a bit. I got like last night. So today, between last night and today, I got good sleep. But then, so I'm just a little froggy, I think. But that said, I do have to say something, and the thing I have to say is the name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treated like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F, or an M will appear. And then I say boo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fan, or info. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain, and a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't a name that I can't rhyme. Time of gifts. Time of gifts, parents, Bobama gifts, banana fanta, for fama gifts, fee, fi, mo, mama gifts. Time of gifts. The name game. Uh, Thank you. Time of gifts. You just gifted a sub to Ezra, who I need to message as soon as I actually get time because Ezra is awesome. And so Ezra, I don't know if you're here right now, but I do have to message you anyway. But I'm gonna sing the name game for you because we knew each other in middle school. Ezra, Ezra, Bezra, Banana, Fana, Fofezra, Fifa, Momezra. Ezra. The name game. Woo! Yay! Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Like this is yay. Oh, look at that. Just looking at something, and I got a like impromptu audio test sponsored from Dublin. Um, you know what? I'm just looking at. I was looking at what was it? The uh closed captioning. I was looking at the closed captioning, and I thought, why does the closed captioning sound like? Why is the word banana? Oh, must the word banana is there? It must be sort of reading me wrongly. And I realized actually that's not the case at all. It was reading me absolutely correctly. It's just that it's just that I did actually say the word banana. So I thought it was like because how sometimes um that the closed captioning, it's like auto captioning, and it may not, it might read you weirdly, but it turns out it wasn't reading me weirdly at all. Actually, I did actually say the word banana because I was name gaming it. Uh, what it was. I'm just moving names over so that they can read better as well. Also, I think. Yes, let's keep it like that, shall we? Good. Yes. Uh, let's see. Good sleep for the yes. Bring the candle both ends. You purpose. I spent the day picking up trash for National Trash Pickup Day. Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, oh. CC never works. Well, it is working right now. It is at the moment, but at least it is a thing that you can turn on or off. Because by the I got distracted for myself. So what happened was I got good sleep last night last night to tonight, um, and because I got good sleep, but it has been a while. I think I'm just a little like I think my voice is just like, oh hey, you've slept for a while. I'm like, oh, I got like 2 hours of sleep the night before and the night before that because there's been a lot. We had this sinkhole at the prison, and so I couldn't teach last week, so I had to teach in the prison on Thursday and then on Friday, so back to back. And uh, the Thursday, the class started at 8 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, which means I had to be at the prison at 8, which means I had to wake up at 7, which means I had to get up at 6, and I went to bed at 4, doing all the prep for all the stuff, and then same thing. So I got like maybe 2 hours of sleep Thursday night, 2 hours of sleep Wednesday night, and then last night I went to bed at a pretty decent time, and I just slept. I slept for like 10 hours, and I got up at like 11:30, and getting sleep when I haven't gotten sleep, just I think it just leaves me a little froggy headed for a bit, but it'll wear off, like the morning dew. You know how it is. Uh, I I did. I thought that I just because what is happening with the closed captioning does show up on my OBS in the little corner, and I just happened to glance over there and it says, "Why does it say banana?" It's like, oh, I must have said something that sounded like banana, and it misunderstood. And then I was like, no, wait, I just did the name game, so I actually did say banana. So that's what that was, which I thought was hilarious. Um, You thought closed caption was a fan. Yeah. You getting up early for a sinkhole. Did they count the students? Oh no, because of the sinkhole, I didn't get to go to teach that day because there was a sinkhole. But yeah, if Lindy were here, I would give her some more details because the last time I mentioned the sinkhole, because I said they don't spend money on infrastructure. She's like, well, sinkholes sometimes just happen, but they had like 4 or 5 sinkholes apparently, and it's because they have it isn't like a natural occurrence. Like in LA, sometimes sinkholes happen because there's like underground tar or whatever. But there at this place, this prison has steam pipes underground. The prison's from the 1800s, right? I think, and it has steam pipes underground, and those steam pipes um, degrade all of the earth around them. And so after it degrades enough of the earth around them, then just a sinkhole happens, just like the earth just collapses. So apparently, that's because the prison is from the 1800s. Yeah, yeah. uh, Trooper, your brain is not on sinkholes happen when you dig holes. No, no, no. That's not right. Actually, Ice Buddy. Um, that's not right. Sinkholes happen. Sinkholes happen for like different reasons, right? So apparently, at this prison, it happens because they've got these steam pipes that get really hot and that degrade the earth, and then the earth collapses. In LA, we would sometimes have sinkholes because of the La Brea tar pits in some places. Like there are some parts of LA that have big tar pits underneath them, and that will sometimes just cause the earth to collapse. And I don't know why they sometimes collapse in Florida. I'm sure there's some sort of infrastructural reason. Last night was so good. I'm sorry those kids are only destined for a 2-shot. And they may not even live, is all I'm saying. They may die. They may not die, but they might die, is all I'm saying. But those characters are so good, right? They're so good. These are people I've been wanting to play with for a while, so I'm very excited that that was able to work out. Very excited about it. Sinkhole blues. Hey, Volus, I got the sinkhole. I got the sinkhole blues. Uh, they should celebrate Sinkhole de Mayo. PH! PH! I am not at all mad at you right now. I am so excited by that. PH, Sinkhole de Mayo? PH, Sinkhole de Mayo. That was so delicious. That was so delicious. I can't believe you just said that. That was so great. Sinkhole de Mayo, PH, why are you brilliant? Why are you brilliant? Why are you brilliant? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I believe it's been a while. It's been a while, but I believe how do I do it? I go what was the command? Oh, dang. It's been so long. Hold on. Hold on. I think I can just do this. Can I do that? I can't do can I do this? Right. That's cool. That's awesome. But the problem is I don't have a browser. I'm just gonna have to put a browser up because I I need to know this or I will die. Excuse me for one moment. One moment. This this cannot be forgotten. We're gonna fix this right now. Hold on. That's what it was. Yes. Thank you. I got it. I got it. Quit. Where are you, H? Oh, Krellin. That was Krellin who did that. Oh, Cinco de Mayo is only celebrated in Mayo. It's September. Oh, PH, where you are? Here you go. Uh, right. Uh, I have to type it out in person. They should celebrate, and also we're doing a thing. A thing we haven't done in a while, but we are doing it because we have to. It is. Sadly, I cannot copy paste, but it is life. Uh, wait, look. I have to write this down. Occasion. Uh, 1S. Occasion. Wait. Spontaneous emergence of sync. Good. Quote added, everybody. Because sometimes we have to put the quotes in there so we can find out what we learned on the academic foxhole. Uh, for example, I learned that Paladin Hulk is Nostradamus in 2017. And in 2022, we have learned about Sinkhole de Mayo. Uh, and that is a thing that is a true statement. That is that's a true statement. That is what we're doing. Uh, sorry, I had to put that in there. I had to, but I was like, what was the command for that? So I love the fairy who was almost 7 inches tall with prosthetic wings, right? With the bits of glass in there. So good, so good. I love that. Also, I have to say, I really enjoyed what they came up with when they were like, let's just roll and see what happens. I was like, do it, right? I thought that was pretty great. Oh, some of them have such low constitution. I'm so worried about their lives. That's fine. We need a Gato Marcel cake for the celebrations. Mm-hmm. Ah, if he dies, that character should be reincarnated somewhere. Yes. So what I wanted to say, that was, by the way, we're on one of the topics I wanted to talk about. I really, really, really want to make a character sheet for Tunnels and Trolls. And the reason why I want to make a character sheet for Tunnels and Trolls is because if I could make a character sheet for Tunnels and Trolls, then I could like make macros that to sort of create to do your save, to do a combat roll, uh, and I might even be able to make rolls that uh, do some of that math, right? But more importantly, uh, they look like if they look like a sinkhole, so you can fill the hole with whipped cream. Oh, okay. By the way, I do have to tell you that after I left you all, I went back to the ship, but in the outer world. I went back to the ship so that I could break down uh, some of the stuff that I had, and then like you know, so I could like upgrade the weapons and armor, break down some of the stuff that I had, and I'm very underencumbered, sort of, and just to let you know. So I didn't like play anything without you. I just got rid of some inventory. So I did not cheat on you. I swear. Uh, but there's another thing that happens in the game that I would like to automate, which I think I could do if I made a character sheet. And that is whenever you make a save roll, which is basically an ability check, not a combat roll, but a save roll.
The SMC. We'd better be getting paid overtime after all this.
Yeah, here we are. We're right here. We gotta go.
Damn time. Let's find that journal. I want off this fucking rock.
Fair, fair. But what I was gonna say is, um, right. So what I was gonna say is, every time you make a save roll, you get adventure points for that. Like it's actually it's a thing, right? So you get adventure points for every saving. But the amount of points you get is based on basically how many what you rolled, right? So like somebody rolled a 22 or they rolled a 31 or a 30 or a 5, and you get that many adventure points. And so I think what I could do is I could probably make it so that if I make the sheet itself, that I can make a button for the save, and when they roll a save, um, they whatever they roll, it's automatically added their adventure point. So I think I can probably find a way to do that automatically, so they don't have to mark down uh, what they rolled. I don't have to mark it down; it just automatically goes. And yeah, so I really want to make a roll 20 character sheet for Tunnels and Trolls, and I am not an expert character sheet maker because it's just like a HTML and CSS, but I think it's something that I can do. And I started. It was one of the things I did was I actually started working on making one, and I uh, have not finished making it, but not uh, like I've got like the basic skeleton of it. It doesn't look good, but all the pieces and parts are mostly there at the moment. I just now have to refine it and figure out how to do sheet workers and what's that? Oh, they're a bad guy. I think we can just go inside and we can fight them later. Yeah, yeah. We don't need to fight them right now. No, we'll just use this terminal. It's fine. Yeah, so I think that I can probably figure out a ways that there's like they'll take a they'll have a button, right, like a button to make their saves, and then whenever they make that save, it'll then go and like add whatever they roll to their uh, adventure point. Because the thing is, I think you just get a lot of adventure points in this game, right? Leveling up is expensive, but you get a lot of points for it. And um, I want to, yeah, yes. So I feel like that would be really, really cool, like a really neat way to automate some of that stuff in a cool way. And there are like some other things I probably would need to sort of check out. Uh, but yeah, yeah. So this is something I am excited about. That's what I'm excited. What you said. Now I put no. I did not play without you. I just got rid of inventory. I swear. I swear. Uh, who got rid of inventory without being nagged? Yeah, it was. No, no. Look, I do it sometimes. I just tend to want to be like on the ship. Check his bag. He con Marie, but loves stuff too much, so it's all there in the hoard stash. Maybe. Let's unseal the doors. Okay. Um, we've unsealed the doors. We're good. We're gonna do it. Woo, woo. So anyway, I just like look, and here's the thing. I would like to play more Tunnels and Trolls solo sessions. I might like to uh run more Tunnels and Trolls at some point, especially because I was reading a blog post by this woman who's been playing since like the '70s, and she was noting that in combat, normally your constitution is degraded when you get hit. She's like, but you could do other things, like you could do like social combat if you wanted, where you know you make rolls, and those rolls then are maybe damage would come off of not your con, but maybe it comes off of your some others, because when your stats drop, you get taken out. But like you could do and Rissa, I had a thought for you. Just note, I did have a thing I wanted to say. You said something, and I wanted to respond. Um, and yeah, so I was thinking about how Marauder's here. This one does not have a head. Oh, this one does though. As do, it's just that one that doesn't have a head. Hi Pam, how are you? I love the purple you got going on. I love the bow tie you've got going on. Very nice. Going to feel like I should have my robot with me. Talk to Pam, but I don't. So, but I really feel like I should. Hey everybody, we have to go back because I need to have my robot with me, because there's a Pam here, and I feel like my robot might want to talk to Pam, or they might want to, like, what if they have a conversation? I feel like I might really need my robot right now. So we're gonna go and we're gonna change our we're gonna change our party because I think it's in. I'm just saying that there's a Pam and I have a Sam, and I want them to talk to each other. This is hey Lone Coup, how are you? That's what I'm saying. Dear Trooper, hello. Also, your stream still says what? It does? But I changed it last night. I totally changed it. I totally changed it. Why does it still say that? I am scandalized because that was one of the things I did last night. Because like right after a stream, I always try to go and update my details so that I don't have to remember to do it in the morning. You know what I mean? Let's see. What do we have? I could have done this a slightly different way. Oh gosh, we're gonna get into a fight now. Oh, hold on. Oh, hey, okay. Oh gosh, okay. There's a fight. Awesome. Hey. Oh, let's. Oh gosh. Hello. I was not ready for that because people decided to get into a fight without asking me. I was not wanting to get into a fight and. Hi. Somebody use your powers. There was like I just wanted. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Sorry. Okay. Excuse me for one moment. Oh, wrong button. That's fine. Oh, wrong. Oh, another wrong button. I was. Oh, what? Let me just shoot you. More than once? In the head? I hope that person is dead. They're standing behind boxes, so it's a little awkward. Okay, everybody. Hey, how you doing? I was not planning on having a big old shoot fest right in there. I was trying to talk to chat because, chat's my friends, and like you all those people came along and just like got in my face, which was not at all what I wanted, but cool. Here, let's do this so that they don't get in my face. I was like trying to say something. Oh, you know what I mean? So inappropriate. Okay, I was trying to go and log in, so that I could. What do you mean? Hold on. Trooper SJP. Right? Okay. Log in. This username does not exist. Oh, I didn't spell my name right. So that's why I didn't log in. Hold on. I have to check to see if this is true. That because Sal wouldn't lie to me. Wait a second. If this is the case, to fix this. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Twitch?
Everyone,
Come here. No, I don't want that. Here, let's see. What's happening? What's happening? Stream info. No. Hey, it says it. I've got the PS4. That's what. Hey, I've got the right thing here. It looks like the right thing for me. It it so Ron's like you need to read more before you. Sorry, I try to. Yes, so sorry. Apparently, it was fine all along. It was fine all along. You were there all along. Uh, let's see. I try to be like Johnny on the spot. I do like the idea that the stats are actually different hit point values, and taking damage sets you into a natural death spiral by reducing your adds. Yeah, but it doesn't reduce your basic dice, so it doesn't like. Apparently, like one of the earlier editions would also reduce your dice, but you don't have to recalculate that, which is nice. You just recalculate the adds, which is also nice. Which means I bet I could make monster character sheet that then would calculate that for me automatically as well. Lone Coup. Conversation or flirt is a question. While I'm connecting my robot, what do I want to tell you? Fate Cortex. That's what I wanted to tell you. Don't let me forget. Hey Hawkeye, how are you? Hawkeye. Hawkeye. But we are going to loot these bodies. I mean, if we had to go and get into a fight with a bunch of marauders in a way that we were not planning to originally, we're going to at least loot the body. That's what that is. And I hope at least we get decent stuff, because if we don't get decent stuff, then I'll be sad. That Cortex Prime Fate. Trooper is scrolling despite the very next message being in a reminder. Sorry. No, sorry. Well, what happened was that I couldn't see chat because I. What happened was that I couldn't see chat because when I pulled up the, you know what? It's fine. It's just that I can fix this. I can fix this. I mean, oh. Sorry, we should probably repair all of the things. So what happened was... One moment. No. Here. Yes. Here. We're going to just really quickly hop back to our ship. So that we can get Sam. So they can talk to each other. Because that feels important. So I did this thing where... OBS now has docks where you can sort of put windows. You can put various things in OBS itself, so that, for example, I can have my chat up in OBS, and I can have like other little things up on OBS, so I don't necessarily have to have my browser open. And so actually, I had my browser off, so I was like, oh, I don't need my browser because I've got everything here. But then it turns out that if I click on anything other than OBS, that browser window, because I popped it out, disappears, because I like to have my chat popped out and then expanded, because, oops, excuse me for a minute, because the game, what's the word? Because you know how I am, sometimes I don't get to read chat in every moment, and then I miss some stuff, so if I have the chat window popped out and then like expanded, then I get to see all the things I might have missed, which is important to me because that's how my life goes. And but when I'm using the OBS window popped out and I click on something that's not OBS, then it disappears. So I saw that the thing was I saw that the thing was wrong. And so then I went to go to fix it, but that meant that I had to go and like open up OBS, the browser. So then the chat disappeared, so that I didn't see that Sal was like, no, it's fine, because it's what happened. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I didn't see chat. That's what I'm. That was the moral of that. That was the moral of that story. Yes, right. It was client side, not my side, because yes, that's why I need to read more. Hey Hawkeye, oh, go roll dice with Simon. Hawkeye, something for you later. Okay, so Rissa, the thing I wanted to tell you, I have officially and finally left. There is a Discord for Fate, and Hawkeye, I will see you later. There's a Discord for Fate, and I have officially left it after way too long. Like, actually left it. What I've done in the past is that I've just stopped reading it for like a couple of months at a time. Okay, we are going to get Sam, who's very beefy. So I should probably take neither Nyoka or Parvati. Vicar Max is sort of like in between. I almost never have Vicar Max. Why don't I just take Vicar Max and Sam? Why don't I do that? These are people I don't normally take with me. But what if I do that? I don't know what this is going to be like, but we will do that. I mean, can't hurt, right? Oh, you're right. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. Uh, Sam and Max. Yeah, exactly. Hello, Max Ryder. Um, we're talking about some stuff. I was going to say thing to Rissa. Rissa said that because Rissa's playing in a Call of Cthulhu campaign, horror on the Orient Express, but converted to Cortex Prime, and I had asked her how does she like Cortex Prime. Now, I do not know.
5 queso atmospheric dome? I've never seen one in person. Magnificent.
Oh, hey, I'm getting them talking about things that I never talk. That's exciting. We're gonna just head over to our big final mission right now. There we go. It's fast travel. Got it. Okay. Is that the system where the better you are, the larger die you use? Firefly, Firefly, Serenity, and I think also Buffy used Cortex. I believe. I think also Buffy did. I believe you also use bigger die the better you are in Savage Worlds as well. But Cortex Prime is one of these sort of like one of the big generic systems that I have never played that I remember. But I did watch a game that used it. I watched there was a Buffy game over on Roll for it for a while. So I have used it, and we're gonna go in and see what our robot has to say, you know, to the robot. Damn. Yeah, I reviewed some Firefly back in the day. COC is your favorite, and you know, Rissa, I like the additions that happened with 7th edition. I like it's not 7th edition is not that different from the earlier editions, but I do like advantage and disadvantage. I like that they sort of that you have like hard and extreme. Like there are these little things they've done that I think are actually I quite like. I like the addition. I like the way that you can use luck points, but that may be a bad idea. Like there are things that I think because percentile dice can be kind of swingy, and I like that there are some ways to mitigate that swinginess.
Welcome to the Adrenatime Synthesis and Manufactory Center, brought to you by Spacer's Choice. This productivity automechanical unit is at your disposal. Its normal duties involve the management of legacy operations analytics. However, due to the promotion, demotion, death, or injury to other managers of this facility, this unit is now the acting manager of the following departments: reception, human resources, accounting, technical support, manufacturing, distribution, security. Please direct any questions about those departments to Pam. Answers not guaranteed.
Wow, Pam, I feel like they're making you do too much work. You know what I mean? I feel like they're making you do too much work. There are bits that annoy me, but rule 1 of RPGs is to keep what you like and toss adjust the rest. I don't know. I don't think I have the magic grimoire, but now I feel like I need to have the magic grimoire for CFC. I don't have it, and now I feel like I need it. I'm going to have to get it. Yeah, I'm going to have to get it. Thanks, Rissa. And also Max Ryder. Because of you all, I'm going to be ordering that. And the thing is, I actually just ordered some stuff from Chaosium, and I could have put that magic grimoire in that order, but I didn't because I hadn't thought about it, but now I am. Don't let me forget, everybody, that I want to get that magic grimoire. Don't let me forget. Don't let me forget. I just turned up the volume for you, Rissa, by the way. let's see. I like the simplicity. I think only a single person who's played my campaigns has ever gotten the rulebook. You know that, but I feel like that's pretty standard for a lot of games. Like I knew a lot of people who just never got the rulebook for any. If they're a player, like just like the GM spending all the money to buy all the books. Players sometimes just not. Ham should unionize. Sal, I agree. Sal says, I just bought the most recent edition of Coriolis, which is a dice pool system. Only 6 hit, but 1 hit is always a success, and you can pray to the icons for a full reroll once. But you give the GM a darkness point, which is kind of their mess with the player's currency. Oh yeah, yeah. I know Dot was running a really long running Coriolis campaign, and Coriolis, if I remember correctly, is free league, right? And so they do. I got the Twilight 2000 right there, Twilight 2000 from them. Did I show you that? Got it. Call of Cthulhu recently won an award for best character deaths, I think. Oh, nice. Do we get a commission? Maybe. $50 and a free PDF. Grand Grimoire is so useful. I use it all the time. Really? Okay. Yeah, I find that players would get the player's handbook, although not all of my players would back in the day. Sometimes basically I would bring my player's handbook in and they would just like use it, right? It's interesting because it depends on what classes they were playing. Sometimes they'd sometimes they'd buy the player's handbook, sometimes they wouldn't. If they were going to play for a long time, they probably would get the player's handbook. But most of the time, almost every other game I've ever GM, players generally didn't tend to get the books because we were in person, right? Because then they would just use the books at the table. Although nowadays, PDFs, right? Yes. Also working your way through Cults of Cthulhu. Oh, interesting. Maybe your Call of Cthulhu players are just slackers. Peril is free league, yeah. That's apparently their Mutant Year Zero system, which they use for a lot of games. Right, and I read the SRD for the Mutant Year Zero for a thing I cannot tell you about. Can't tell you about it because that's the NDA related situation. Yeah, and I do want to run something that is in their system because I feel like I should. But I don't think Twilight 2000 is using the Mutant Year Zero system, right? I don't think it is. Give me 1 second. I want to show you something. I think I'm about to have my other ear. I have to show you 2 things because we're here. I want to show you. Okay, ears back in, everybody. Woo. But I have to go here for big screen. I've not had time to read my Twilight 2000 yet. I actually played in a one shot of it. So and I was like reading. Since I was in the Kickstarter, I was reading the playtest documents, like the alpha beta stuff that was coming through. But I played in a one shot. It was really good, and I actually want to GM it. I have plans. Y'all had a weird interaction the other day. Pretty weird. I mean, I've survived it, but it was just pretty weird. Okay, so I kickstarted it, and I kickstarted all grand, and so the grand kickstart comes in this great, like, cool box for Twilight 2000, 200 cartridges, overhead fire, right? And and the things I haven't opened my box, the actual physical box, because I have everything on PDF, and I haven't needed the physical box yet, but unboxing. So, game catalog. We don't need that right now. We've got an initial. These are sit reps, right? So these are different scenarios right there. A couple of different ones. Very exciting. Maps. Nice hex maps, because who doesn't like a good hex map? I love it. It says the GURPS are a number of maps. Very exciting. Character sheets. Also, if you can see, it's got a nice little container going on. More maps. but these are like mix and match tiles, basically kind of like tiles, which is pretty cool. More tiles, counters, because Twilight 2000 is super old school, and old school no way that involves counters. And very nice quality reference manual with like a very nice binding. I'm gonna note it. Referee's manual, player's manual, also very nice. Then it's got what, like cool dice, and then encounter cards. This is one of those games that I feel like would be really cool to play in person because it's got neat like details on it, which always feels fun to play. But I'll tell you what, I have no idea when I'll be playing something in the physical meat space again. For so many reasons. But it's Twilight 2000. However, that is something that I do want to run for a bunch of reasons, but that's fun. I don't really know if it uses Year Zero system or not, though, or whether or not it uses the old system, or those are questions. Yes. I did not tell you about the thing that I did not tell you. I mean, I told you about it, but I didn't say anything I couldn't say. That's all. Yes. Yeah. I got the metal box. It's not their only system, but they also do Symbaroum, which is not D20 roll under. Yes, and neither is Twilight 2000. It is not. I do not believe so. Let's see. Unboxing. So I ran a bit of Twilight 2000 back in the 80s. Great game, though the rules are very complex. Yeah, and I'm sure there's a way we can, I think they've streamlined it a little bit for the modern day, the new edition. But let's see. Hexagons are Sal. Hexagons are bestigons. Also, I know I have to do this. If you don't mind, I actually just need to add that as a quote as well, because I know I'm adding quotes. We've not been adding quotes for such a long time, but now we are, because people are saying really important things. These things need to be remembered. Hexagons are bestigons. And we're just going to add that. That's Sal. 2022. Boom. Oh, I typed it wrong. Sorry. Ooh, Grand Grimoire of Magic. Yes. I'm gonna need to be reminded that once right before I get off stream, so that I can just go to the website. Actually, no. This is easy. I'm just gonna pull up a tab. This is why I have tabs. All right, let's see. I hear that. I miss face-to-face, though. I have thoughts about that, which I will share. But I'm still talking about. Let's talk about Cortex. A metal tin that doesn't contain buttons and thimbles. Bolus, I understand you. I also long for a meat space game. See, I have mixed feelings about it. But just mentioning things changes them, right? Yeah, that's true. The old art was what really drew me to the original Twilight 2000. Love the colors. Oh, yeah, the art was brilliant. Here, this is how I know that I will not forget. I need to go to Chaosium, chaosium.com, and let me go to, y'all, there's a bunch of stuff I want to do. Explore their explore. Where is it? Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu. The Grand Grimoire of Mythos Magic. It looks like they only have it in PDF. Is that true? It looks like they only have it in PDF. What's up with that? It looks like they only have it in PDF, and I kind of want it in both. Wait. Nope, here it is. Hardcover. Got it. Found it. It's up there. Good. Done. Done and done. All right, we're good. It's happening. Okay. In my own game, says Sal, that I have spent way too much energy and time making, but have nowhere near finished, also uses hexes. Because hexagons. Absolutely. I was about to mess you a discard, but if I don't, I just pull up the tab. Do I have all of their solo adventures? No, I just bought the hard copy and it's not here yet. Ah. I've got the solo adventures on PDF, but I don't have them in hard copy. But I have them in PDF because I might need them. Just on mentioning of things changes, Heisenberg's first law of semantics. So I just bought a new game, and this one is not new. It's basically it's actually not new, but I think I think this is new in English. And I bought it. I made a mistake buying it. I didn't make a mistake buying it. I'm not sad that I bought it, but I bought it the wrong way. So this here is part of my quest to get important games from different countries. You know, but like, look, you all know that I've got a couple of different RPG interests, right? Like, one is RPGs that are interesting, important, influential, popular throughout time, which is why I'm currently like doing the first decade. It's like the first decade of RPGs situation going on. Think about that. But one of the other interests is RPGs from different countries, and I've been slowly collecting RPGs from different countries when they become available in English. Right? Like, I've got a Lex Arcana over there, which is Italian. I got Aqualara, which is the very first, like, it's the really big Spanish RPG. I just Kickstarted because it just came out, just happened. There's a Kickstarter on, I don't know if it's still gone, if it's done, for a Drachen och Demonar, which is like the first big Swedish RPG that was their like Dungeons and Dragons clone. And they're doing a Kickstarter for an English version of that right now. So I Kickstarted that. So I've got the big Spanish game, the big Italian game. I've got that sort of foundational Swedish game coming to me. I got Shadows of Esterin, which is French. I do not currently own the English version of the Schwarze Auge, although I played it at Gen Con, and I should just go and get that at some point. Let's see, that's Italian, Spanish, Swedish, German, which I need to actually get. I actually think Cortex is Australian or Canadian. I think it might be. I don't have any of the big Brazilian games yet. There are a couple of Japanese games like Ryutama. I don't own Ryutama, but I'm gonna get that one. And I've got. I think for British, I'll probably do like Warhammer Fantasy for British games, most likely. Demona. I will get the Drachen. Drakar och Demona is the game. It's the Swedish from 1982 is when it came out. And oh, you got Aqualara? Yeah, Max Rider. I was like, oh, I have to get Aqualara. I have to because this will be really interesting. That's like very exciting to me. Oh, I thought of an out of print one that I enjoyed, Privateers and Gentlemen. Ooh. So yeah, so I want to get Ryutama. There are some Japanese GURPS supplements because GURPS is pretty popular there, but they were not translated. I think it's almost impossible to get them, which is terrible. But there was like a new edition, like an English edition of another French RPG, Polaris, and I was like, oh, I should get that, right? And it's a nice slipcase, very cool. And I ordered it, and I ordered it because it was on sale on Amazon. I was like, oh, cool. I'm getting like random Amazon things anyway. Let me just go pick this up. But the problem is, when you order an RPG through Amazon, you don't get the PDF. So I've got these beautiful books, but I don't have the PDF, and that makes me really sad. It makes me really sad because I want PDFs. Is what my life is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I want PDFs. But Polaris, which is sort of like it's a post-apocalyptic underwater sci-fi world. and I thought that would be really cool. Oh, Max, I see you. I see you. I see. Yeah, I just look. I just want the PDF. So that said, let's go. Uh, Public Display of Affection PDF. Yeah. I see you. Not gonna lie, one of my motivations to learn bitter Swedish is to look at the cool Swedish RPGs, and that's all free. Yeah, Sweden has been like, I think they're calling it the new Swedish Renaissance. Like Sweden, like through free league games, they've been doing a lot of stuff. But they've been the thing about Sweden is that they've had some really interesting RPGs for a while, like Cult, I think, which I also have. I have Cult, which is also one of those big Swedish games, free league, I think. Um, they had Cult. They had like they've had a number of games. Also, one of the big French games which I do not own, but that I can get an English translation for, I think, pretty easily because Steve Jackson Games did the translation for it. They did an English edition back in the day, and I imagine it's probably still available. In Nomine was a big French game, which was basically you play Fallen Angels, or well, I don't think you're actually fallen. You play angels that are sent to Earth, and then you're sort of conducting a war with demons, right? It's like that's what that is. And it was a big line for Steve Jackson Games, and I'm pretty sure that there's. I bet those books are. And I have. I think I have one. I might have GURPS in Omni, but I'd want to get the regular one in Nalmi. Do we just look? This is what tabs are for. GURPS in Nomine, yep. But do we have the non-GURPS in Nomine? I'm sure we do. In Nomine and Anime. Yep, the Innomine Core Rulebook. Still available. It does not look like I can get it in hard copy. It looks like I'd be getting it in digital only, but it's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Still okay. Still okay. Yes. You asked who the publisher of Polaris is. What are you talking about? You said only one is at least one is only $7.50 on drive-thru. Oh, if I could get that, I wonder if it's the new edition though. I wonder. I'll have to check that out. Let's see. That means dragons and demons in English, but the Schwarze Auge, do you need that in English? That would be a reason to turn in your lederhosen if the Bayerns hear that. Oh no, but there's a brand new edition that came out, and it has like streamlined and updated the rules, which I think is probably good. I think it's like a black box. Excuse me, the print is very, very small. But this is the publisher for Polaris. It is Black Book Editions. So it looks like the publisher is Black Book Edition for Polaris. Wait, I missed how Drakkar and Demoner was relevant. As a Swede, anything Swedish draws mentioned. Oh, Jabai, two things. One, and I actually think the Kickstarter is done, but maybe it isn't. I'm gonna just check because you did ask. So there's a Kickstarter for I think I spelled that wrong. That's fine. I spelled it. Come on. You couldn't find it. Come on. I kickstarted. So, Drakeni Demoner och Demoner is currently, or it was recently being kickstarted, and I kickstarted it. It's like a new edition, and I believe it's also in English. It's got an English translation in there. And I was talking in general about how I'm super interested in playing major games from different countries. And then if I can find this, yep, there it is. If I can find it, then I can link it. It is look, if anybody's interested in Drakkar och Demoner, called Dragonbane in English, the Kickstarter is actually still current. So if you're interested in getting like one of these foundational RPGs, a new edition, because they're re-envisioning it. Apparently, they're going to sort of re-up it. But if you're interested, there's the link for it because they are doing a new edition of Rakar Och Demona, and I think and Free League is doing it, right? Free League is doing it, which is super interesting. And it's for its 40th anniversary because it was released 40 years ago, and so as part of the celebration of its 40-year anniversary, they're doing a new edition of it, and I feel like they're going to do English and Swedish. Yep, it's both. This Kickstarter is for both the English and the Swedish editions, and you can pick which one you want. So if you're interested in, as I am, in both historical and international RPGs, then this Kickstarter may be for you. And I'm glad I could share that. And I realize it looks like I'm actually playing the game, but I totally am. But, you know, I had to share that. That's important. Yes. Swedish games are hitting the sweet spot. Oh, PH! PH, you're so good! You're so good! This is terrible, PH. I love it. Be very careful, Troy. You may get a baguette over the knee. Yeah, it looks like the PDFs for Polaris are on sale, both books. Oh, great. I'll have to get that as well. Don't know which edition, but I think it's the same game. This by Black Book Editions. Oh, good. But that is... Just going to pull up a tab, because pulling up tabs is how I do not forget. I really appreciate y'all helping me out with this. Polaris. Whoa. Yes. Oh yeah, and they're half off? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Max. Then that does look like the same edition, actually. Yeah, 750 in English. Yeah. And I checked the covers, and they look like... Oh. Same covers. Look at that art, huh? Check that out. Yeah, and those are the covers I saw on drive-thru. So you can apparently get these drive-thru RPG for $750. For $750. Yes. Pulling up tabs helps me remember too. Until I accidentally close the tabs. Max Writer. Why did you just want to go and like traumatize me right there? You know when you accidentally close tabs, you can usually bring them back up through like remember last tab. But if you accidentally close a tab and then it's like 2 weeks later, you can't get that back. That tab is lost forever. And there have been tabs that I have lost, and I was like, oh no, they're so terrible. So like I am interested in playing RPGs from different countries. That's because I really want to see different gaming aesthetics, and I've been slowly collecting different RPGs, and I do not think I'll be able to do my international round until a little bit later, but you know, I have been doing, you know, right now we're in a sort of a let's explore the first decade of gaming kick at the moment. I've made some deep dives in my history to try to find a lost tab. Sometimes I even find them. Max Writer, I need to tell you, it's about old channels, pages. Cakebite, how are you, Cakebite? I love working for managing tabs and saving resources on the web. Oh, so Cortex and Fate. That's the thing I wanted to say, and then old web pages. The second thing I wanted, and then Krellin is the third thing I want to say. Connected to finding old web. Just know it. Okay. Let's see. You're the only one. No, Legacy Operations Analytics. I've never heard of it.
According to this facility's records, the Legacy Operations Analytics department is located on sublevel floor 1. Its functions include warm bodies and redacted Access to that department is currently denied due to a lockdown in the sub-level stairwell.
Cake bite knows losing tabs is the worst. Yep. Hey, wait, how did I get wrapped into this? I've been quite. No, Krillin, you said something, and you didn't say it, but it's about who you are. I want to give you a compliment, but I don't want to forget it because it's important. Oh, Privateers and Gentlemen published in '83. Okay, so I'm going to go with the webpage first, and then because I will remember the Cortex Fate thing. So, what's really rough is that there are web pages. There is one specific web page that I want to find, and I cannot find it. And Krellin is a genius in finding old web pages. Krellin has found some things that I could not find that I was like, I don't know if I can find this. And Krellin has found them, which is awesome. Should I ever download that one audio? I'm going to have to go and do some searches, I think, in the Discord to see if I can refine it. Ooh. Anyway, because Krellin found the songs. So there was this, okay, this is not the page I would have talked about, but there was a fake boy band called Fresh Step, and they were a fake boy band. They did 2 songs, Don't Talk to the Hand Girl, Talk to the Heart, and then also You Gotta Be Fresh. And they were basically on David Letterman, and I wanted to download the songs, but I could not find those 2. I couldn't find them. And Krellin found them for me, and I think I put them in tabs and then forgot to download the song, so I've got to try to re-find them. I'm sure if I search for Krellin and in the Discord, I might be able to find those links. But there's another page that is still my white whale, and Krellin, even though Krellin is brilliant, it has like search foo for days, has not been able to find this page, and I've not been able to find this page, and it is still haunting to this day. Yes. No, I don't have, like, you can't find it. You cannot find it, so there's no way. But it was a page, and of course you can't remember the exact title, but this was something that I looked at when I was in college, printed it out in the little printer in the computer lab, so it would have been like late 90s. It was a web page that I found in the late 90s, back in those days. So, like 25 years ago, and it was either something like how to GM the Scooby-Doo way, or how to analyze the Scooby-Doo way, or like, it was basically a web page, and I remember the page where it was talking about, might have been how to GM, perhaps, but it was talking about it was like one of these articles about player archetypes, and it sort of said, okay, basically in any sort of gaming group, you can analyze your players by attaching them to the archetypes in the cartoon Scooby-Doo. Like, you've got Freds, you've got Daphnes, you've got Velmas, you've got Shaggies, you've got Scooby. And then it talked about what each of those types means, like, as a gamer. Like, well, Scoobies are like this, and Shaggies are like this, and Freds are like this, and Daphnes are like this. And then it talked about group like how to make those various people happy, and then thinking about group composition. They're like, so you don't want to have all Freds, because that will not make for a very fun game if everybody's a Fred. But you really do not want to have all Shaggies, right? So like talking about like balance, and then I think it went through like these various examples of groups, and then had these little icons of like, this group has like 3 Freds and like a Shaggy and a Velma, right? This one has like 2 Velmas, and did this kind of like little breakdown looking at the different sort of configurations of groups, and which I think were examples taken from maybe media or something. And it was really good, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting, and I really liked it. And again, it's not like I want to live my life through the Shaggy way, but I really am interested in different ways of typing, like, games, players, and the different ways in which people have thought about it. And I would love to have a copy of that if I could find that page again, so that I could then talk to everybody else about it and share it and be like, oh, isn't this interesting, and what do you think about it, and what are your thoughts? But I have not been able to find that webpage. And my suspicion, of course, it doesn't exist, which means you'd have to find it on the Wayback Machine. But I cannot figure out how to find it on the Wayback Machine, since I don't actually have a title for it. And I really thought that I had printed it out. Like, I know that I printed it out back in the This is why I hate getting rid of things. I know that I printed it out back in the computer lab back in the late 90s, and I had a folder that I'd had for, well, since the 80s of all of my gaming paperwork. But all of my papers, I had gaming paper. And at one point in time, somebody's like, you just need to throw this stuff out. You don't need all of this stuff. I was like, but what if I need it? They're like, stop hoarding paper from like 1980. And I was like, yeah, but these like character sheets I had from like 1980, like you don't need those things. So I think I went through, influenced by other people, and did a big purge. I think I must have gotten rid of it because I cannot find it anywhere. And now I'm sad because if I had a hard copy at least, then at least I'd have a hard copy. But look what happens when you get rid of tabs and paper. Then the one time you need it, then it's gone. That's all I'm saying. There is a lost webpage that is my white whale. Call me Wishvale. Ooh. Yeah, I don't throw that stuff out ever. I listen to people who want me to get rid of things. It was terrible. At worst, it gets boxed up and put in the attic, right? Like you can, but the problem is, I have not had a steady home since I joined the army, right? Like I have basically moved. The longest I've ever lived has been here in Massachusetts in a while. And even then I've actually moved so when I first moved here, I lived in like faculty housing for 3 years. And then I became a scholar in residence. And I lived in this one dorm. I moved here in 2009. So I've been here for 10 or 13 years, which is a really long time. But in those 13 years, I've moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, right? So I've never really been, there have not been a lot of places I've been in the same spot for a very long time. So I've been moving, so I've had to move a lot. So, and for me, that's a lot of books and CDs and paper, right? And I always end up like moving those things around a lot. And so I was convinced by someone, probably clearly hated me, to purge a bunch of paper, and I didn't scan it because it was not when I had a scanner, and I think I've lost that page forever, and I'm really sad about it. I still have some of the stuff, though not here because it's clearly one of my boxes that's in the other room. Which I have. Anyway, I was just talking about my trauma. The Wayback Machine started in 1996. If you found this thing in college, it might not even be on the archive. Yeah, it might not be.
We value each and every member of the Spacer's Choice family, so be proud. On average, you contribute positively to a minimum of 1.44 important spreadsheets per quarter. That was one of Pam's patented pep talks designed to efficiently eliminate any negative feelings that are getting in the way of your work. After all, Pam's purpose is to answer one question. How can I increase your productivity today?
Thanks, Pam. Thank you. Trooper, do I need the windows behind me? Well, I mean, I never open the shades because they get in the way of my lighting. And also, I don't want random people. I'm on the ground floor. I don't want random people looking at me while I'm streaming. I don't need that. So do I need them? No. But are they there? Yes. They're also like huge windows. Kind of exciting. Yes. The internet is so intangible and ethereal. Nothing good can stay, but everything bad will stay. DSB. Hi, friends. Someone didn't announce he was live, so I missed it. Oh. You're right, I didn't announce it. I am so sorry. I thought I did, but I didn't. You are correct. You are correct. Peril, when do you think Trooper went to school? Actually, I went to school. So, actually, I didn't. I actually went to school late. I actually, because I joined the Army first, right? So I joined the Army in 1990. I was in the Army from 90 to 94. And then I lived in Germany until 97. And then I started undergraduate from 97. I went from class of 2001 to 97 to 2001. And then I did grad school. So it might actually be on the Wayback Machine if it was taught, but I cannot find it. I wish I could like do an internet search for like 2000. Do you know what I mean? Like I wish I could do an internet search from 2000. That would be terrible. I haven't missed much. Then you can put more up. Yeah, no, I don't think I can put more shelves up there because I think it'll get in the way of, like, because that's where the door is to get out. Yeah. Wow, I failed college before it even started. Yeah, no, I started super late. I did. Army strong, army smash. Let's see. Oh, have you met my friend Sam? I think you'd get along.
Greetings, Pam. Don't get swept away by the sleaze of your filthy, worthless existence. Let Sam neaten up your life.
Work fortifies the spirit. Let Pam optimize the routines of your life for maximum productivity.
Sam units. If we can't clean it, we'll destroy it beyond recognition.
All PAM units have been programmed to encourage a worker's competitive spirit. Well done. Continue destroying the competition on behalf of Spacer's Choice.
Got a lust for dust? Sam does.
Oh my.
Pam believes in the power of a well-organized spreadsheet. Cleanliness is next to lawfulness.
I can almost believe that they've made some sort of deep connection that bypasses reason completely.
That's so exciting! I feel like they're friends. Tell me about this facility.
Adrena Time Synthesis and Manufactory Center is where Spacer's Choice's newest product is being created. Get a leg up on the competition with Adrena Time. You are now in the lobby. The floors above you are the offices, the manufactory, and the Adrena Time synthesizer. The floors below you are the sublevels and the synthesizer reactor. How can I increase your productivity today?
I think we need to do some destruction on this place. You know what I mean? I think we need to do some sabotage. A little bit of sabotage is what I think we need. That's what I think. Windows will allow him to escape if one of those students tried to actually manage to start a fire in them. Yeah, they're not openable. None of our windows we can open, so there's no escaping. However, I do have a balcony. So if there were some kind of like massive fire, me and only me could escape by getting out of the balcony. Everybody else would not be. So our windows don't open. I see the hearts. I see the heart size bunny. I see the hearts there. I feel like maybe we should leave them alone, right? Yes. This feels like an intimate interaction. I know it felt a little bit like maybe I shouldn't be here. Can you fill up? How many books could you? Oh, well, I mean, look, I could throw things out the window. I'd have to grab my band. I am backing up all my data to Backbit. I'm doing that 3-2-1 thing where I've got like my data, I've got it on an external hard drive, and I have it up in the cloud. So it wouldn't. I don't even want to think about it. On the other hand, we have these like super intense sprinkler systems in here that you do not want to go off, because my understanding about the sprinkler systems is that they have not been used in decades. They work, but when the water comes out of the sprinkler systems, I've heard this because apparently it happened somewhere because somebody was smoking in their room or something like that, set off the sprinkler system, and apparently the water that will come out is like gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of sludge water, like gross sludge water that will destroy everything. So I want neither. I just don't want a fire. I don't want it. Water fills books. I know. I definitely would say the banjo. That seems like a building code violation. No, a lot of office buildings also don't have windows you can open because they're worried about people jumping out of windows, right? So there are a lot of places you just don't get to open windows. Yeah, you have too much data for the cloud. Oh, I'm using Backblades. They're letting me have a lot of. Like I've got a 14 gig terabyte external hard drive, of which I think I'm only using about 10, and then 2 on this one. So I'm looking at like maybe 12 to 14 terabytes total right now is what I'm using. And I know a lot of people are like, how can you use that much data? I was like, I've got a lot of video and audio files. And right now I just checked the folder I have that holds my my recordings from Twitch. And please note, I only save the recordings for my RPGs, not for the video game streams. So I only have like, Night Witches and Kolos and Cthulhu Confidential, those sorts of things. I only have those in there, and I think only from my channel. So I might have. I don't know if I have. Like, question. I'll have to check it out. But anyway, just that is over a terabyte worth of data, just for the video. And that's just for Twitch. And that's not at all my video streams, right? So, like, I have a lot. It goes fast. I forgot the text. Lala will not look it up. God, no, yeah. I don't think I'd take my books out of bins in that case. Ugh. Rusty, smelly water. Volasuits, that's what it would be, right? Teachers are still allowed to give bad grades. Are teachers allowed to give bad grades? The consequences for that. Sort of not. Sort of not. DSB says, a friend of a friend works in fire safety, making sure places like art galleries install sprinkler systems. In her demonstration, she always says, fire is worse than water. And her demonstration is to take a $1 bill and light it on fire. I don't know how effective that is. Music files take up a ton of space, they do, especially if they're kept in the WAV or other hi-fi formats. It's so true. The minute you start not compressing that, and you're like, really, like, oh, Axe, you know. Trooper, I have about 40 minutes before. Okay, yes. Let me finish that. Yes, gonna talk to Pam, and also have to tell you about Cortex and Fate. The U.S. sprinkler system is no joke. Drowning is more likely than burning in smaller buildings. Oh, wow, Volus, I had no idea. Scary. I believe it. I had a friend in college 15 years ago who was a music history vocal performance double major who had an external hard drive that was a petabyte and was just full, just for the music library. Wow. I also, by the way, have not digitized my entire music collection. I have my music is not at all fully digitized. That is one of those things that once I unload my DVDs, except to build a shelf for them, then I'll just have to like every day slowly, place a DVD in my external DVD drive because I don't have them anymore, and then just start digitizing. And I really, really do need to do that. It's just not the top of my priorities. So, your productivity, auto, mechanical.
Pam helps each and every member of the Spacer's Choice family be the best they can be. When you're managed by Pam, your workday gets unjammed.
Nice. Manage your... No, that seems rude. How do you keep people more productive?
Feeling down? Pam is loaded with over 1,000 encouraging messages, each designed to make you feel like an important member of the Spacer's Choice family.
Oh.
Schedule slipping? Not to worry. Pam tracks all of your deadlines and has the tools to whip your efficiency back into shape. You'll be a team player in no time, thanks to Pam.
Wow. I'm not going to ask those other two questions because that seems rude.
How can I increase your productivity today?
What's with all the bodies?
Do you know that keeping your workers alive boosts productivity? That's why every PAM unit comes equipped with the latest Spacer's Choice weaponry. When PAM's emergency combat protocols are activated, your investments are sure to be protected. Warning: due to power consumption, combat protocols cannot be activated when PAM's power is below 73% without deactivating managerial processes. Spacer's Choice policy dictates that managerial processes take priority. This unit's power rating is 57%.
Can you override that
PAM
behavior?
is fully customizable to fit your preferred management style. With the correct override codes, you can alter any of PAM's behaviors at will. Some limitations apply. Spacer's Choice does not accept legal responsibility for any injuries or traumas sustained after altering PAM's behaviors.
Okay.
See manual for details.
So how can I recharge you?
Hate messing with tangled cables or confusing batteries? With PAM, you'll never have to. Just pop in a Firefly brand industrial strength battery, and Pam's ready to go. Out of batteries and need productivity now? No problem. Just hook Pam's power source up to another auto mechanical, and Pam will get your employees back in line in no time.
Say, hey, Sam, can you spare some power? Sam?
SAM units are programmed to respond, "Can do, customer," to any and all serviceable requests.
So exciting.
Power rerouting complete. Please be advised the aforementioned unauthorized procedure has voided this unit's warranty.
This unit's power rating is 100%. Great! Emergency combat protocols are now available. Error: employee's biometric ID does not match this unit's designated manager.
Oh.
Proceeding with verbal management test.
Oh.
Pretend that this PAM unit is one of your employees who's been working long hours. What would you say to give them an extra pep pill in their step?
We'll use Persuade. Keep working late, and we'll serve free pep pills and Spratwurst after hours.
Like any good manager, Pam comes equipped with an emergency pep pill dispenser. Employees passing out at their desk is a thing of the past. Verbal management test complete. Result. Employee is a Spacer's Choice manager. 94% certainty. Engaging emergency combat protocols. Stand by.
Hey! Pam, where are you going, Pam? Where are you going? Pam? Hey, Pam, where are you going? What are you doing? Pam? 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 Yeah, Pam can move. Where are you going, Pam?
Untidiness is an eyesore and cannot be abided.
Pam?
According to this unit's programming.
No, wait. That head's not spinning all the way around, is it? Well, that's not unsettling at all.
Pam? By the way, when I moved my monitor, Pam? Pam, where are you? Pam? Where are you going? Sorry, when I moved my monitor here, the connection, the cable to the other one, there's a restroom. Just Pam? Oh. Oh gosh, okay, there's fighting now. Okay, everybody, we need to fight. Is what's happening here. I'm making them bleed, that's cool. This is a new pistol of mine, by the way. Pam? Pardon me. Hey, my friends, are you shooting people? Speaking of which, let's maybe get this fast gun happening.
We're still alive.
We are. Hi, everybody. How is it going? Also, Pam, where did you go? Pam is just like booking it. Also, I can't see some a little sad. Look, I want you to know that I'm feeling very uncomfortable that I just ran willy-nilly to some random place. Pam? Pam? Pam! Pam? I'm back, everyone. Hey. Hey, everybody. So, we're back. Look, it distresses me that my computer sometimes randomly freezes recently, and I'm trying to figure out what it is that's doing it so I can fix it. On the plus side, I'm currently using the most recent Mac OS, Monterey, pardon me, and I can reinstall the OS without losing any data. So I might do that later today to see if that'll fix it but nothing happened during Tunnels and Trolls, so that's interesting. But also, I'm not really running anything right now, so I don't know what that's all about. I really can't tell you what is happening there. I've got to go maybe check some crash logs and see. Of course, this, like, I'm way out of warranty, so I don't know if I might be able to go and talk to somebody anyway and get somebody's, like, might be able to. I'm going to go and message yeah, I'm going to try to figure out what's going on. Computer wants us to chat. By the way, hi Deck Dice, how are you? Also, DSB noted that like the sprinkles were put out and you lost like what, 10 classrooms, like some huge number of bits of Pam. Also, Pam looks like they're dead, and I'm very distressed by this. Also, I should probably, right, just for the, I should probably say, I'm really distressed by Pam's death. What is this going to mean for Sam? Hey, Sam? I'm going to talk to Sam. It looks like Pam got destroyed by Vader. Yeah. No, I don't need a new desktop computer. What if Sam goes rogue because the Whirlwind Romance just died? Maybe. I don't know. Hey, Sam. Okay. Good work, Sam. Go back to work, Sam. Sam, Oh, Sam. Hey, Pam? Eh, Pam's dead, everyone. We have to just go back to where we started now. This is. Wait, is this even where we started? It is. Pam's dead. What if Sam goes rogue? Yeah, I just. Oh. So we're gonna go back down so it can be methodical about it, not miss anything. That makes me sad. Pam just wanted to pep people up, and I never even got to ask her for a pep talk. Now I've lost all of my pep. I've got no pep in my step. None whatsoever. I just want you all to know it, that I have a lack of pep now because of a dead Pam. That's sad. Yes. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you all. Um, so sad about Pam. This is reception. So one of the things I wanted to tell you was I was Cortex and Fate. Right, I was waiting to tell the story. Look, I need to figure out why my computer is randomly crashing. I need to figure that out because it is distressing me that it is freezing. I figured out why it was freezing one time. You remember when we were playing Twice Reborn, not this week, but the week before, it was like crashing regularly? That was a problem with Streamlabs, where Streamlabs was trying to access a file that did not exist, and then it would like freeze everything up. But I fixed that, and that hasn't been a problem since then. But twice now, we've had these freezes, and I don't know why. What I think I will do, and I've got this analysis thing going on for OBS, which looks like everything's actually pretty decent, like no drop frames and all of that. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I want to know. You know what I mean? Like this is a thing that is a question that I have. I've got to figure it out because the last thing I want, right? The thing that would like really stress me out is if my computer crashed in the middle of an RPG. That would be a thing that would not make me happy. I'm looking for room closet, utilities, and then activity. I'm gonna just put this activity monitor up here just in case something bad happens. I don't know how much, like I don't know what to tell me. But at least have this here so that if I freeze, maybe I'll see something. Anyway, um, it looks like y'all are still here. It looks like y'all are still here, so I'm gonna assume y'all are still here. Don't let me forget because I know that Rissa has to go soon. Cortex Prime Fate. We're going from M. Liaison. Subject my lost ID. Hey, Rosemary. So sorry to bother you. Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I lost my ID. Don't know how it happened. I have a very strict system for organizing my desk. Someone probably took it. Can you deactivate it and get me a new one? Thanks. Minoru Liaison. From M. Lou from R High. Scene 5? Hey, Rosemary, you seen Fife around? Pam's old battery's having trouble holding a charge, and all my spares keep disappearing. You know how it goes around here. If something's disappearing, Fife probably swiped it and put it in the facility's office like a trophy. Since your desk in the lobby isn't too far from facilities, I was hoping you might have spotted him on his way or something. If you do, tell him Mike Lou has 3 packs of Spacer's Choice Corona to trade for the industrial strength Firefly battery that disappeared last week. I'd appreciate it. Maybe we can save Pam by giving her a new battery. What I just we'll see if we can maybe put a new battery in Pam and she won't be dead. Lord. I hope she's not dead. I hope she's just sleeping, resting, you know. Oh good, I'm glad you all are still here. I'm gonna try to figure this out. This is distressing. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna do like we'll figure something. So I don't look. The last thing I want is to be like running tunnels and trolls next week, and then it just randomly freezes up on me, which is, and I don't want it randomly freezing up on me when I'm playing video games either, or doing work or whatever it is I'm doing. So we will see what we can do. We will see. It's unclear to me what. I'm gonna just take all this alcohol. Why? I don't know. You know what I wonder? I wonder if alcohol will feed my food situation. Like, if rather than eating sustenance, I can just drink vodka, and that'll be okay. We should try. We should see if this will work out for us. I don't know if being drunk's a good idea in this game, but we could try, because if it works, then we have more things. It seems like a bad idea not to eat food, only to drink whiskey and wine, right? That seems bad. But we should probably at least just see what happens. Oh, I mean, it might not go, but we should at least try. There's so much alcohol. I wonder how many people drink alcohol in this game. Like, do people get drunk all the time in this game? Because I've been such a teetotaler because I hate things that will give me negative consequences. So I don't even know. Will she be the same Pam who loves Sam? If you replace her parts, the Pam of Theseus. Fair, but it is only the battery, and batteries are meant to be recharged. So maybe she'll be okay. Hi, dead marauders. Were those flies? I thought I saw flies. Makes me sad. Okay. Who call that? Top shelf hooch. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Before we look at this, we're gonna see what happens if we drink hooch, and see what happens to us in terms of like if it feeds our food. So this is some purpleberry juice. No, that's juice. We don't want juice. We want alcohol. Here we have some glacier water. Again, that's not alcohol. What does this do? Glacier water. Our mind attribute. Oh, that's not bad. That's nice. What about this? This is purple. No. This is. Look, we're clearly getting. How about this? Level head, anti-Cleo. Adrenal suppressant liquid. Enhanced tactical time dilation recharge 50%. Oh, some of this. Look, I need to get more medical, y'all. I need to get more medical. This is my goal, so that I can put one more thing in my. Don't let me forget. I want to get medical. The next time, let me up my medicine so that I do not forget. So that I can put one more slot in my medical slot. I want to get to 80 in medical. This is important. Don't let me forget. I would like. So this is rum and something. It's alcohol. It doesn't last forever, so let's try it. See what happens to our eating situation. Because for all I know, maybe this will be. We can just drink alcohol. Based. Okay, good. It turns out drinking alcohol does not fix hunger. We have learned. This is apparently getting more Pam stuff, everybody. Bola says, the amount of adrenal lace marauder and what other stuff they have pumped into test subjects, Mr. Meat, drugs are at least our worries. That's probably true. These damn tech support slackwits. When we barred the door to HR and accounting and made them use the stairwell, they would not stop whining about it, but every turn they proved me right about it. Nosy little shits are always up to some kind of humbuggery. And the automechanical specialist that's in charge of Pam is the worst fucking one. He's always changing some setting or another for routine repairs, and then after all the hell breaks loose, it's up to me and my security team to pick up the pieces. That's pretty fucking hard to do, considering half my team has paws instead of hands. That's creepy. Canaans are easier to manage, they said. They're more resource efficient, they said. Fucking top rungers. And everyone wonders why I'm always drinking in the lounge. Anyway, the guy changed Pam's combat override code again, without telling me. Again? Don't think Pam blam, thank you, ma'am. 82368 fit security guidelines, but screw it. At least this time it's not about another employee's mother. We just got Pam override codes, but I think Pam's dead. So here's what I wanted to say. This is the thing about this is for Rissa. So I joined. I was like hanging out on the Reddit for Fate, which I did not in the end enjoy because I did not like how people talked on that Reddit. They said things that I did not find cool. Like their vibe was not working for me. I found them very frustrating. The Fate in ways that I find other Reddits not frustrating. This one was very because they had this habit of whenever somebody would come in and ask a question, they'd be like, "Hey, I'm looking to do this or that," and they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, like, I'm really like." For example, here's a for. Hey, I'm brand new. I don't know anything about Fate whatsoever. I'm a completely and total new person, and I had heard that Fate was really cool, and I'm really interested in it. And I'm wondering, and this is natural health regeneration. What is this? This is a bunch of natural health. Just eat. We're gonna be running out of Raptidon meat soon. Here, let's eat some purple berry fudge, shall right? And so I've heard about Fate. I'm really interested in it, and I was thinking that maybe I would try it out. I want to run a game that's sort of like a dungeon crawl, like an old school dungeon crawl, and I was wondering, can I do that? Like they could have like magic swords or whatever. Like, can I do that in Fate? How would I do that? And then invariably, what happened is that people in the Fate Reddit would say, "Oh yeah, well the thing is, Fate is just not. Fate just can't do a dungeon crawl. It just can't. It's just not what it's good at. It's not really its thing. It just can't do that. You should probably play Savage Worlds instead." And that's if they ask for something that seems a bit more traditional. If they seem like they want something that's a bit more narrative, then the Fate Reddit would say something like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't really work that way. It doesn't really do that. You should probably play Powered by the Apocalypse instead." And so it's always like boggled my mind that like this is like the only place where I experience people being interested in playing a game, and the people who are fans of the game, hey, that's a huge battery, by the way, telling people, "Oh yeah, they probably should just play something else." Like, Fade's just not going to do what you want it to do. You should just play something else. I'm like, that is not my experience with most other systems. 8 class Bumblebee Pale, 8 cases of Bumblebee Pale Ale, Borson baked beans, woolly milk, Placer's Choice tarmac and cheese. Like I have always found that weird. Huh. To Adrenochrome synthesizer service elevator. I think we could probably get there in the other direction. Like so, um, like look, Fate, GURPS, right? Take GURPS as an example, as a counter. If you show up on the GURPS message boards on F. Steve Jackson game and you say, "Hey, I'm really interested in playing GURPS and I don't know much about it, and I was thinking about doing like a dungeon crawl. What do you think I should do? How do you think that should work? Give me some thoughts and advice." What they're gonna say is, what you're gonna get is, "Oh, you want to play GURPS? Oh my gosh, absolutely! GURPS can do anything you want it to do. What you need are these 18,000 books, and you do not need the 18,000 books. It's just that people are very, very enthusiastic. They're like, "Oh my gosh, so you need the basic set, and you're going to have powers. Oh, and you should totally have also you should have martial arts, and also you should probably get this." And like GURPS fans are very enthusiastic, and there's a very sort of vocal group of them that will recommend that you take every single book and get every single book, and you do not like really. You just need GURPS Light. And if you want more than light, then you just need the basic set. And anything else is gravy. Anything else above the basic set is just something if you want it. Like, and do I have it? Absolutely. But do I need it? No. Like, you don't need it. It's fine. Everything is fine. But they get very like that's the thing. GURPS fans get very enthused, but they never tell you don't play GURPS. They don't say, "Oh, whatever." Like you shouldn't play GURPS. Uh, that's not what you need. Like, and I'm just telling you, I find the habit of Fate players. I have no money by them. I find the habit of so we're gonna sell. We're going to sell, I sell. But we are going to we're gonna sell armor because maybe I can sell armor. Oh, but this armor might be good. What if I need? We can't sell the armor yet, everybody. It's important. It might be better than what we currently have, so we won't sell it. Maybe we could sell. Oh, hey, we could sell the alcohol. Let's sell off our alcohol because it doesn't help us with our food situation, and I don't feel like we need to get drunk every day. It's not worth a lot of money, though. Yeah, we're gonna sell it. Every little bit counts, right? We're going to sell our alcohol. Because look at this. It gives you a +1 to your personality, but it gives you a -1 when you're in hangover to dexterity, perception, and charm. That seems terrible. That seems like a very bad. Okay, how about if we a little bit of alcohol in case we need to convince. But if we need to convince somebody of something, we probably will not have taken our alcohol in the first place. We're just going to sell the alcohol. We're going to sell all of it. All of it. Except for that Spacer's Choice 0G brew, just in case there comes a situation where we might need it, but that's it. Everything else, we're selling. Like all this vodka, we're just going to sell all of it. I hope you're all proud of me. I hope you're like, wow, Trooper is selling all their alcohol. I'm so proud of them. They're my best friend now because they're not hoarding. I hope you're proud of my lack of hoarding tendencies. I feel like you're not even. Let's see. Reddit is a toxic swamp, and I do not go there. Actually, there are a bunch of places on Reddit that I find actually not bad at all. Like I go to like the what do you call it? The RPG thread is not like actually, seriously, I'm on a bunch of Reddits that I totally fine. That I don't have it's fine. Good times. Dehydrated water. Nice. Look, it looks like a bunch of this stuff is actually fine. It's just the alcohol that seems to be a bit of a problem. And so long as I can just sell the alcohol. And in the same time, what is this? Level head? That's fine. Look, y'all, I clearly need one more slot. I need one more. Water's good. Yeah, so here's what I'm trying to tell you. I need more medicine. Do not let me forget that what I want is more medicine. I do not want to forget that. This is liqueur. Let's sell them. Selling it. Because let's see. They probably would have had a conniption fit for stuff Bill did, like the Gamma Rain with Big Eye, Small Mouth, with the What If Sauron 1 premise. No, it's just really weird, them. I feel the sensible way to deal with that for the community is to give advice with a possible disclaimer that it isn't the best fit for the game. Yeah. Yeah, if you want your favorite game to survive, maybe don't gatekeep and discourage people from getting creative. Yeah, it's really weird. And the thing is, I sort of understand kind of the impulse that they're going with, right? By the way, I just sold all of my alcohol. Also, I'm still drunk. Y'all, I am still drunk. Drinking alcohol is just not. It's bad for you. Y'all, don't drink while you're trying to shoot people with guns. Don't drink and shoot guns, everybody. This is my advice. I know that it's very controversial, but that's my controversial advice. Don't drink and shoot guns. Or do tactical maneuvers. Don't do it. That's my advice. And the thing is, it functions as gatekeeping, right? Like, that's how it ends up functioning. But I don't think they mean it as gatekeeping. Like, I don't think they mean to gate people, even though that is exactly what they're doing. I think that they think that they're being helpful, right? That's the thing. I really think that they're trying to be helpful rather than gatekeep. But I mean, they are gatekeeping, right? But I just really feel like the people on the fake Reddit are trying to be helpful, which is really weird, right? Like, I really do think they mean it sincerely, and I can kind of see sometimes where they're coming from. a little bit, not most of the time, but like I get like a small percentage of where they're coming from. But um, yeah, um, Burps is easy and cheap, 6-pack or less. Holeless, yeah, yeah. Um, all the goosips, yeah, selling it. If I live in this world, I would hoard alcohol. Yes. Krell says the thing about Reddit is that every single subreddit has its own culture and audience. Yes, Krell, that's true. Like, and some Reddits are super friendly and nice and cool. Some get weird. Like, it really, they're all so different. I mean, Reddit is like most social media. The massive spaces are kind of bad due to sheer numbers, but massive differences between different communities. Yeah. Um, Walk the Dogs. Now I'm back. By the way, the first edition of Ghostbusters RPG came out in '86. The second in '89. Thought about that. Well, that's interesting. I don't think Jez is crouching. I'll check. They're trying to protect Fate by stopping people from being just yes. See, Krell, I think it's sort of like that, right? I think, Krell, I think you're right. I think it's this weird thing where, like, I think okay, so I think it's just this weird thing where they're trying to like, yeah, I think they're trying to protect Fate by keeping people. Yeah, I think they must have had experiences where people come in to try to do Fate, and they try to do things with Fate that Fate is really not suited for, like really not suited for, and then those people get angry and frustrated, and then those people like smack talk Fate for like not being good, but they were like trying to use it in a way that it wasn't really optimized for. So I really think that in some ways they're trying to protect Fate, and I think maybe also protect those other people from disappointment. But the problem is, I think that they've overcorrected, and I also think that there's some things they don't understand. Um, and I have, and I went to the Discord because I thought the Discord would be better, but in some ways the Discord is worse in different ways. And so I finally, and I'd be on the Discord, and people like I had such an experience on that Discord where like somebody would say, "Hey, I'm really interested in running Fate in a kind of a gritty way, where it's kind of deadly. Does anybody have any advice?" And people would be like, "Yeah, you really just can't do that. You should probably just play Savage Worlds." And I'd say, well, actually, you can do that. I'm running a game where it is a bit grittier. Here's some advice of things you can do. And then somebody might say, like, hey, I'm really like I sometimes find like that Fate kind of breaks my immersion. Like, there's something I can do to make it more mystery, or we're like, oh, I'm doing that here. And so I'd give advice based on what I've been doing with Kolos. And then people would say, hey, but that's not how Fate runs. And I was like, actually, I think that the way I'm interpreting Fate is you can actually interpret this way, even mechanically. I think it's in the book. And I actually was told by one of the mods that I should stop giving advice based on the things that I do in Fate, many of which I actually got from Fate books, by the way, because it'll just confuse new people. Because what I'm doing is not how Fate is supposed to be run. And so I should not tell people. So like I would give advice based on what the rulebook itself says, although some of the stuff I'm doing is it's in the books. Like I'm actually not such a like what I'm doing in Kolos might feel very different, but it's just not that different. It's all supported. Anyway, there are only a couple things that I do that are mostly just conceptual, but it's really very minimal. So I was told more than once that I should not tell people what I'm doing because it would confuse them, which does not feel very welcoming. And so like I left the Discord a bit, then I came back because I wanted to have some Fate conversations. And like I left like maybe twice after it got kind of weird. And this last time it happened, I was like, you know what? And I just left. Finally, I left the Discord. And what made me leave the Discord this time was there's this thing, and I'm telling you this story because it is related to Rissa. Because Rissa said that I asked her how it was going with Cortex, and she said it's going much better now that sort of watching me run Fate has helped her wrap her mind around Cortex in an easier way. Which leads me to this thing that I think is really, really frustrating about the Fate ecosystem. And Max says, what's Fate optimized for? Krell says narrativist play. And the thing is, that's not exactly true. It is, but the people who originally made it, they made it out of fudge, right? And you can play it simulationist. You really can. There are ways to do that. Some people have sort of pushed it away from there, but it's totally doable. You just have to sort of think about it in certain ways. And if you think about it in certain ways, you can totally run it in a more simulationist style. But none of the people who are in that Reddit or Discord, and like one of the original creators, there are two original creators. One is more narrativist and one is more simulationist. And so both of those elements are there. So it's totally doable. But the people who are on the Reddit and the Discord are super anti-simulationist. some of them had been simulationist players, but they are really like anti that, which makes that space really kind of difficult. My guess would be that they got people that showed interest, be it in real life or on Reddit or on social media, tried to make it a D&D, didn't get D&D, so just downplaying what it can do. Yeah, I think that, yes, absolutely survive. So yeah, I walked away. So yeah, simulation does this. Everything's binary. That's the problem. They want everything to be a binary, right? And I know that I'm not playing, but I have to say this because it's important. Sadly, I have to leave before. No, I'm going to end the thoughts. Here you go. So this is it. I'm wrapping it up right now. Here you go. So the thing is, one of the biggest problems they have on that Reddit is that some people will complain about Fate. They'll say, I try to like Fate, but I don't get it because it breaks my immersion, right? Like I like to be immersive, and I want immersion, and Fate breaks my immersion, or I want something more simulationist, and I don't see how I can do simulationism in Fate. And the thing is, their response is usually either, yeah, there's no way you can do simulation in Fate, it's just not possible, or they'll say, I'm sorry, there's no problem with simulationism in Fate. It's totally fine. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no problem here whatsoever. Or somebody would say like, hey, I want to try to get Fate. I want to understand. This happens a lot. This is one of the reasons why I left. I want to play Fate, but I find it really hard to understand. Like, I don't get it. I'm having a hard time with the concepts. And they'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. Fate is not at all hard to understand. It's totally simple. It's totally fine. Nobody has problems with Fate whatsoever understanding. It's totally fine. And the thing is, if you look at people who do not like Fate, they say the same things. And they say things like, it's hard to understand it. I don't quite get how it works. I don't understand the concepts. I understand how to roll dice, but I don't understand the concepts of it. And so people keep saying, like, I'm having a hard time with immersion. I don't understand the concepts. They say these things all the time. I have figured out a way to translate Fate to people who play more traditional games, whatever that means, right? Who want immersion, or who are having a hard time understanding how Fate conceptually is different from other games. I figured out how to make that translation. And so I can get people who are used to playing other games to understand how to do Fate in a way that will work for them. But whenever you go on that Discord or Reddit, they always say there's no problem. There's no problem. It's totally fine. It must be you because there's nothing wrong. But if you cannot see that Fate works conceptually quite differently than Call of Cthulhu or GURPS, then you're not going to get people liking Fate. And then the people will be like, oh, well, then Fate just sucks, right? So you get all these people who hate Fate because the people who are big Fate fans tell them that there's no problem. But the problem is in translation, and these people on the Discord and the Reddit have never practiced translating Fate to other mindsets. Like, it's the concept, right? Instead, they're just like, yeah, don't play Fate. Play Savage Worlds instead. You should just play that. But the people can find a Fate that will be fun for them. Not everybody, but there are ways you can find Fate that will be fun for you. But the way that you can get them to enjoy it is by translating the concepts, trying to figure out how to make the concepts work. If you've never done that work, I just feel like it's very frustrating. The reason why I brought this up for Rissa is because when Rissa said that Cortex is working for her better because of watching me play Fate, that makes me feel good. And it's about that there are a number of these newer games that I think you can play in ways that will be enjoyable if you are not like a super hyper narrativist. But you need to be able to work through the translation. And I figured out how to translate it by reading Ron Edwards. Not that he's my best friend, but the way that he explained narrativism helped me figure out how to translate it into other styles. Even if the rules themselves are exactly the same, it's the framing of those rules. And you can reframe the rules in a way to make them make sense. But the people on the Reddit Discord and Reddit, the Reddit and the Fate Reddit and Discord, there's this group of them that just are very resistant to any kind of discussion in a translation way. They just would rather people not play. And I find this very frustrating because I think being able to understand what it is about your system that people don't understand or don't get, or like, I don't think the answer is to be like, my system's fine, whatever, that's your problem. Because actually, I think that it is a really big jump if you've never been in that space. And I do not think they're helping. And I just find it very frustrating because I don't think that's like open. I don't think it's welcoming. I don't think it brings more people in. And I think it narrows Fate because Fate actually can do other things other than how they're framing it. I think they're framing it in a needlessly narrow way that turns off more people from Fate who could like it. And it results in them saying things like, oh, how you're doing Fate's not even real Fate. And I was like, actually it is. I've changed very few rules when I did Proloss. And some of the rules I've taken are, because Fate is modular, are options that are in the rulebook. So I was like, oh, this is an option. Let me use this option. Let me use that option. I just put together different options and I just reframed things slightly. And so I just find it very frustrating, and so I finally left. But I just feel like I was just reading a post by somebody who hated Fate. They're like, oh, I hate Fate because in Fate, you can, like, in Fate, they said, I want to play my character. I don't want to be an author. I don't want to write my character story. I want to play my character. And in Fate, you can't play your character. Like, no, you can. You just have to reframe things. And so there's all these sort of ways in which this particular core group of fans are narrowing what Fate can be in ways that I think is unfair to Fate, and I think is unfair to people who might be interested. And I think that the process of translation can help people get other styles of games beyond Fate. So I think that it's a very frustrating thing for me because I think it's not great. That's what I want to say. That's what I wanted to say. That I wanted to tell Rissa specifically because she mentioned the Fate Cortex thing. That's it. That's it. Rissa, you can go. Yes. Here is no war in Bong Sing. Yes. It's you, not me. Absolutely. Also, for many players and GMs, getting that perfect fit isn't the goal, right? A passable fit for plenty is plenty good for many. Just like how D&D gets you. It's absolutely. I love how passionate you are about this because I feel like it gets mean, you know? I gotta go. Please go. Streaming early today, so as I have some privacy. Oh, nice. Thank you, though. And like when we get done, right, I'll pop over. Yeah, and look, it's just one of those things that really matters to me, right? It's just one of those things that really matters to me. And I don't know. I just think it's unfair. I just think it's unfair. Because, first off, I did not really appreciate people being like, you're doing Fate wrong. And these like really weird, really weird ways in which they'd sort of claim I was doing Fate wrong. Or here's another one that was actually frustrating. And look, I have to tell you, this is important. Right? There's another thing they did, which is really funny. It's really annoying. And I know, and it reminds me of a character that I made, a PC I made for a game that did the exact same thing that I knew was really annoying. Like, I know that this particular thing is an annoying thing to do. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make a character who does this really annoying thing. And it'll be really interesting to see, like, how people respond to it. And what I did was, let me read this so I can walk around. Don't let me forget my my cleric in Eberron. 2B Newell, out of stock. Mr. Newell, no, there are no socks involved in the production of Spacer's Choice Terra-fried Spratwork. The T hologram on the machine is likely just malfunctioning. It should read out of stock. Best Sam Tinsley, technical support. Button. Miss Sutherland, I regret to inform you that vending machines do not take returns. Please do not try to fit your can of Spacer's Choice Gourmet Saltuna fillets in the bit cartridge slot, as it will damage the machine and prevent other employees from using it. Thank you so much for your time. So much. Poor guy. Poor guy. Okay. We can now walk around. I can tell you this thing. So, see, where are we at there? Good. Okay. Yes. All right. So, character. PC. Yes. So I had this PC that was, I was like, you know, I was wanting to play a cleric. And I find we walked this way, so we are going to walk around this direction. So I was playing a cleric, and this was Eberron. And Eberron has like an interesting pantheon, and they have like they have this religion, the seven. They've got like 7 good gods and like 5 betrayer gods. They've got a pantheon. And there is a prestige class that you can take as the cleric, which is called like Sovereign Speaker. The Sovereign Host is like the bigger pantheon, and there's like the betrayer gods. For technical support. And there is I think it's a prestige class called the Sovereign Speaker. This was in 3. And Sovereign Speakers do not, I thought this was really interesting because it was like ideologically interesting. Sovereign Speakers do not worship one god. They worship the entire pantheon as a whole. Hey, Artie. And like they're not like, I am like, you know, I'm a cleric of this one particular god. They're like, actually, I follow the entire pantheon. And wrong is rarely, if ever, a good way to phrase it. Sure, at times advice like D&D does X type of gameplay best, trying to make it do Y is doable, but it isn't built for it. Wrong just sounds so judgmental, yeah. Even if correct in the sense that it's going to get... And also, there have been times when I've told somebody like, oh, what you're looking for is probably not best suited to Fate. Some people wanted to do things, I was like, oh, I don't actually think Fate will do what you want. And it's usually things when people say like, okay, I want to run Fate, but I don't want to use anything in Fate. And I was like, well, then why do you want to use Fate? Because maybe, like, really anything, right? But so I said, so the sovereign speaker, right? They sort of worship the entire pantheon, but part of their ideology is they actually think that all gods are basically just an avatar for the sovereign. So if you worship some other god that's not one of the seven, they're not going to try to recruit you or be judgmental or like do missionary work on you, because they believe that you really do actually still worship the sovereign host. You just don't realize it. So I was like, oh, let me play that, because I thought what would be interesting is that so I'll be playing a cleric who's not trying to recruit you, who's not going to be like, your god is wrong, you're wrong, right? None of that, but more like, that's cool, but I know you think you worship this other god, but really you still worship my gods, and that's why we're cool. And like, good on you. You're like, and that right there is super irritating, right? To have somebody tell you that, yeah, I know that you think you worship Zeus, but Zeus is just an avatar of so-and-so, so really, you just worship my god anyway, so like, it's cool. Let me give you some healing and help you out, because you still worship my gods, regardless of what you say you're doing, right? That's super irritating. And so they're just Hindu, yeah, basically, right? And so this was happening in the Fate Discord, where either they would say I was doing it wrong, or they'd say, oh, what you're doing is exactly the same thing as what we're doing. There's no difference. And I was like, there is a difference. I'm telling you, there's a difference between what I'm doing and what you're doing. And they're like, oh, no, it's the same. I was like, it really does not have the same effect. And they would basically try to insist that I was running it in the same way that conceptually, the same way that they were, or that what I was doing was the exact same thing because it was really what they were doing. And I was like, but it's really not. Like, I was talking about, like, a really great example was we were talking about immersion and how some people have a hard time with immersion in Fate. And I was like, well, one of the things that I do to help immersion is I reframe everything as much as possible as not being metagame, but being in-game. And the example I gave was stress. And I said, so I don't think of stress as being a metagame thing that does not exist in the game, or actually I interpret it as being something that it is actually in the game. It is stress. Like, you are getting stressed out in some kind of way. It's not an external thing. Because the way that a number of the people who are in this space will say, stress doesn't really exist. It's not actually anything real in the game. It's just a pacing mechanism. Like, it's a meta-narrative pacing mechanism that just lets you know how long you're in the game. It's not actually anything real. And I was like, yeah, I don't frame it that way. I actually frame it as something that is physically in the game. And I said, and look, but it's not. You're wrong. And I was like, well, there are 3 different versions of Fate: condensed, accelerated, and core. And they actually describe stress a little bit differently. The most recent version, stress, which was updated by some of the people on this Discord, really pushed towards the sort of like, it's a meta thing, not an in-game thing. But Fate Accelerated actually describes it as being like cuts and bruises, right? So Fate Accelerated actually has it as being a bit more grounded in the world, and Fate Condensed is the other way. And I was like, there are these slight different interpretations, and I'm going with this one. And they're like, there's no difference between this interpretation. You're wrong. Show us where it is. I was like, here, here, and here. And they're like, that's not the same. And I said, but it is different. And they said to me, well, I mean, it's fine what you're doing. They would do this a lot. It's fine what you're doing. I mean, it's just you're not doing what you think. I mean, like, look, stress is just a meta concept. If you want, you can pretend like it's cuts and bruises if you want, but really, you're just doing what we're doing. I was like, I am not, though, because I have found that players respond differently when you tell them that stress equals actual stress and actual cuts and bruises that their character is experiencing. Like I say, like, think about stress as like injuries that are not big enough to hit a consequence, right? It is a bloody nose. It's sore muscles. It's not having concentration because you've not slept in a while, right? These are actual things that are happening in the game that you can get rid of by taking care of yourself, but it's not so big it's going to cause a consequence. And I said, when I describe to players stress that way, they behave and experience the game differently than if I say, oh, stress is just a meta mechanic. It's just there for pacing. It's not anything. Like, you can describe it however you want, but it's not really a thing. They respond and they understand it differently. It affects their immersion differently. It's a different experience. And they just said that they just denied that. And I found that to be very frustrating. because I'm telling you, I have run Fate in both styles. I was running a very sort of high power Fate at one point in time. Tachyon Squadron, I did a bit more this other way. And people just respond differently. People are much more ready to go into combat when they don't think of these things as actually having any kind of material consequences to their characters. It's just, like I'm just telling you, it was different. And to have people tell me that what I have experienced as really materially different at the table as not actually being different at all, like, that was very frustrating. So I was like, I just can't be. I just had to. Isn't that like saying I want a burger but I don't want to have a bun or a patty of any time? Yes. And I was like, Device says, even in real life, most religions don't really care much about converting followers. Sure, Christianity is big on it, but many others just don't have that culture. It's true. TTRPGs are like 89% in the players and GM's head. Phrasing and framing always matter a lot. Jabai, this is my point. And I know this is like super philosophical, right? I know it's philosophical, but it matters. It really matters. I find it really changes. It really changes the way that people experience it. I found a really good web page that I hope that I saved it somewhere, because I do want to talk about it like in a video somewhere. It talked about the difference between like different kinds of currencies, like meta currency, but like they talked about not a binary, like not it talked about metagame currency, but it talked about like 3 different levels of currencies, things that are metagame, in-game, and this thing in the middle. And that was really helpful to me. And I do want to, maybe I could do like a talk or a video about it or something. Because not having a binary, but having this sort of like trinary was very, very useful, because it talked about currencies having 3 different, like, basically, you don't have to, right? 3 different functions. And that was really important to me in thinking about this. I want to say something about it after I read chat and then read this. Artie says, also, core Christianity isn't even really about hurting people, as it is the Holy Spirit that inspires someone to accept Christ. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Far too often I see people make it all about themselves, and what they're doing is a sales competition, and it really annoys you. Yeah. And the thing is, that's about, I think, the difference between organized religion, that it becomes larger structures, and like the individual specifics, right? So let me read this customer service, and then I'm going to tell you about this thing. And I wish I could find that page right now, which I can't. We're not going to do that. I'm just going to take it. To Isaac's A, inappropriate auto. Sir, I promise you, no automechanical in the galaxy is capable of falling in love with you. It is far outside of their set of capability. If there is a legitimate reason that this current automechanical is not fulfilling your department's needs, please file a request for an upgrade using Form AM-265 with permission from your manager. Thank you. No, sir. That was not a comment about your inability to secure a marriage contract. No automechanical is capable of loving you because they are literally not capable of loving anyone. Automechanicals function through a simple series of state machines that are designed to problem solve for a limited list of scenarios. These scenarios all directly relate to the task that the automechanical was created for. In other words, a security automechanical might be able to question unauthorized personnel about where they left their biometric ID card, but a chef automechanical can only ask them if they want extra salt. Even if, in theory, an automechanical was deliberately modified to learn speech patterns and how to mimic human behavior, these behaviors would be a hollow imitation. So, if your automechanical assistant really did make a comment about your posterior, it was because they were programmed to say it. That's all. Poor Judith. Is that true? Don't transfer. Judith, now is not the best time to request a transfer. I've got a reliable source that tells me the OCI may be under official audit soon. There's been a word of some kind of a corporate sabotage? I wouldn't request a transfer to the Chem Labs either. Just have their budget and their personnel slashed. Trust me, you don't want to be associated with either office. Stay with us. We know what we're doing. It must be really rough being customer service. Hey, Vicar Max, what were you doing over there? Yeah, what were you doing over there? But we're going to do, this round. I was. You can share the gospel, yeah, but that's all. But all that is really planting or watering seeds. That's it. Anyone that's trying to force pressure someone into doing it is for their own goals. So there was. Tell you something about framing. Ooh! Oh yes, free currencies. Thank you. That's what it was. Free currencies. I remember now. Also, I feel like I'm trying to get like all the spots, but I feel like I'm missing bits. That's Peril. Message. A note on notes. Herald. Prosperous morning. This is an informal reminder that your adhesive notes are intended to track your double ticket, your trouble tickets. Please do not use your adhesive notes to create patterns on your divider wall. I'd hate to remind you that unsanctioned aesthetic expression is strictly contrary to Spacer's Choice law, and I definitely hate to be reprimanded because I didn't warn you. So please endeavor to use the adhesive note in a manner prescribed by the Spacer's Choice official guidelines. Sincerely, Tony Hamarillo. Friendly language for friendly office. Michael, this is just to tell you, I've reported your recent unsanctioned language to Human Resources. You were recently talking about seeing some of your colleagues act paranoid and violent. Try to remember the new guidelines from corporate. Don't call your colleagues paranoid. They're experiencing dramatically heightened attention. Don't call your colleagues violent. They're showing physically assertive behavior. I'm as concerned as you are about the curious and surprising behavior we've been seeing around the premises, but try to keep your language sanitized. Clean language is a matter of security. Tony Amarillo. Y'all. Seems to be just like 18 pounds of badness in a 13-pound bag. And how come we didn't get this one? Messages. No, we did get this one. We read those. I didn't think I was missing that many. Good, because I was like, I would have been weirded out if I thought I was missing that many terminals. Anyway, so the three currencies. This is really interesting, and I think I should really do it. I need to some. I want to do a video on this one. It's very interesting. So it talked about currency in 3 different ways. They talked about things that are basically direct in-game currencies, right? So this would be something like how much food you have. Like if you have like I've got 4 days rations, that's a specific number that is specifically in the game world for real. Like your characters themselves can look and see that they have 4 rations, right? So like the characters themselves see that number inside the game world. So it's a very direct and specific sort of currency. How many gold coins they have is a specific number that they can see inferred to the characters themselves, right? Then you have meta currency, which does not exist in the game in any way, right? So not in any way does this exist in the game. Some people would say, I actually reframe fate points so that it's not the case, that fate points are this meta currency that do not exist in the game in any way. They do not represent anything inside the game, right? As some fate players would say, fate points belong to the player, not the character, right? So it is something that is completely disconnected from the game that belongs to the player uses to do, but it is not representative of anything in the game. Like you could make something up, but it's actually sort of outside of it. I actually reinterpret fate. That's one of the wing things I've done, is to reinterpret fate points not as meta currency, but this middle category. So we don't have a binary. And the middle is XP in D&D a meta currency? That's a question. It might be the middle category, depending on how you think about it. It might be the middle category. I think, and so here's the thing. People usually talk, again, binary, right? Like it's either a meta currency or it's an in-game thing, and that's all you have. But this one webpage I saw talked about this middle ground, and the middle ground was really interesting. The middle ground is something, it's a number that represents something in the game world that is not accessible to the characters in the game. But it does represent something in the game, right? Depending on the edition, 3rd edition characters spent XP to craft items, so it was definitely in game, right? And so it would probably be this middle thing, right? So in the description, they said that hit points are this middle world. Hit points are not something that does not represent anything in the game, but it is not a number that people inside the game world could point to and look at, right? It is something that is sort of basic. It's a number that abstracts something inside the game world, but it does represent something inside. So they would say HP, for example, hit points, actually are something in the game world. Like they do represent something in the game world, but it's not something that the players themselves could touch, right? So isn't it middle as it is an abstraction of experience? Right. So Gervais, his idea that it's an abstraction of experience, like how wealth is used sometimes instead of specific money values. Yeah. So in that space, right, you could see experience points as this middle thing, right, that is not meta currency that is completely outside of, but it is not something that is like material inside of it. That it's a symbolic representation of something inside of the game, right? That would be experience. But it's a symbolic representation of something that it is in the game in a more material way, right? So it is an abstraction of something there, right? So you could see experience points as an abstraction of something that is in the game, right? You are building up experience, right? Getting experience depends on the things you're doing in the game. It represents the things you've done in the game, especially like I think about first edition, where you got experience for how much gold you got and how many monsters you killed, specific numbers. So that clearly is not a meta thing. It's abstract, an abstraction, but it's an abstraction of something that does exist in the game. So to think about things in that way, like, oh, okay, so HP does represent something in the game. It's an abstraction, but it is there. Or certain, like Gervais notes, certain wealth stats, right, are not something material you can hold, but it is an abstraction of something that is existing in the game. So it's in this middle space. And I have basically made as much of possible. And again, the actual rules generally don't tend to change. I made one small change with stress that you could still interpret as being within the rule set. Most of the things in Fate, I've just made actual things. I've made them material things, or I've moved them from meta to abstraction of something that is in the game. And for me, that reframing changes immersion completely. There's a big difference between thinking of these things as things that are abstractions for things that are in the game versus things that are not at all in the game. Because if it's something is an abstraction that is in the game, you can still talk about it out of character while staying immersed, right? Because if you can stay immersed while talking out of character by thinking, oh, these are things that are still within the game, right? So it's like taking a combat maneuver does not break immersion, because that combat maneuver is an abstraction of something that is inside the game, right? So you can I find that for me, immersion can sit in both of those places. If you're completely meta, then that can't be immersive. You're moving completely out of space for that. And there are a number of narrativist games. That's the thing about narrativist games, is that oftentimes they are not particularly immersive because they are very much about writing the story rather than being in the story. And people have accused Fate of that, but it actually doesn't have to be that way at all. Because Fate, unlike some other narrativist games, has enough in it that is grounded that you can actually just play it in the sort of material and also the abstract sort of space for the most part. And you don't necessarily have to there are a couple of things that are going to, there are a couple of things that push on it, but you can do, like, I've been able to work out doing the vast majority of those things, framing them within the game world itself. So a lot of things that some people dislike about Fate, that this particular group of people who love Fate also love about Fate, right? They both hate and love the exact same thing. I actually don't think it has to be that way. You can just do it in a different way. And then it opens up Fate to more people, right? So, and also I think sometimes those people just don't want Fate to be played a different way. You know what I mean? They don't want Fate to be played a different way. Yeah. Artie says, yeah, XP in 5e is an abstraction of their learning and growing and what they are doing, right? You get more attacks as you get better with your weapons. You get more powerful and more spells. You learn to explore. Yes, actually, like, so I think that absolutely XP is like this middle currency, like this abstract currency. And Gervais says inventory stuff tends to be put in some middle ground a lot in less number heavy games. Absolutely, right? Like instead of carrying X lengths of rope, you carry a dungeon gear, right? Or something that has like 5 uses and fits anything you would bring with you as a baseline, right? And that's not right. And that is easily just thought of as like that middle level where you don't have to be completely out. You can be like, oh yeah, you're right, that makes sense. And I think for me, what you said about number heavy is important because people who want to be really narrativist are like, oh yeah, Fate is just basically just super narrativist and it's all abstract in the meta level. It's all in the meta level. And that's how it's supposed to be. And if you're not playing it that way, you're playing it wrong. A lot of bad wrong fun. But the thing is, you can just think about Fate as not being super meta, but just having a less granularity, right? We're talking about like inventory. If you have a dungeon gear pack that has so many uses. That's not necessarily meta. That's just that in this game, tracking every matchstick you have is below the level of granularity, right? In most games I have played, even very granular ones, right? Like if I went to like, I could buy a box of matches. Like if I were playing GURPS Old West in a super like pretty way, they would probably actually have a box of matches on the gear list, and you could buy that box of matches. But how many matches are in that box of matches is below the level of granularity of Fate. That doesn't make buying a box of matches now meta, right? It just means that that's just below the level of granularity that particular system cares about. And you can raise, right? You can raise that floor, like if specific number of matches is here, and our threshold for how granular we want to be is above that, we don't care. We could go a little bit further up, and then say we don't actually care about things like matches at all. You can just have like a traveler's pack, and that's just going to have that stuff in there. It's fine. And then we can actually go a little bit farther up in granularity, and we have like the Dungeoneer pack with 5 uses. So it's like a Power by the Apocalypse will do that sometimes, right? But none of that has yet hit meta. It's just that the granularity, right, is different. And so, yeah, says Artie Snack. In my D&D campaign, I changed things so that there isn't a +1 longsword. Instead, it's a fine longsword, so that fits in the world better, as +X weapons is pretty meta. Right, and like you could see, and the thing is, you could see +1, yes, right? You could see +1 as maybe being an abstraction rather than meta, but you could also just take it as meta, right? So like there's a way in which like I find that there's like a, I don't think about it like as being discrete categories. I think it's a bit of a continuum, right? You can kind of sometimes push things one way or the other. And for me, the way that I make Fate work in a more simulationist way, rather than a super narrative, is I say, Fate, you can play simulationist. It's just that it has a very high, it has a very low granularity, right? So like the threshold for what it cares about is actually, like it has a very different threshold when it comes to granularity. So many of the things that this particular core Fate group see as meta and not at all grounded in the world, I actually see as grounded in the world. And people who also don't like Fate will sometimes be like, oh, that's not realistic. I was like, no, you can keep it in the world. You just have to realize that there are a bunch of things that are below the level of granularity, right? So as long as you can reframe your thought process in what you're seeing, don't think of it this way, think of it this way, then you'll be fine, actually, right? Assume Bronze Age. Your base weaponry is bronze. A +1 weapon is iron. +2 is steel. +3 is fancy steel. Like, absolutely, and that's a way to do it as well, right? We're talking about granular stuff like tracking rations, this book of matches. Yes, absolutely, right? And I was talking about how because Fate is not very granular at all, base-wise, you can add more granularity. People see that then as like being all meta, and some people really like it. Or if you're not doing meta, you're doing it wrong. People don't like it. It's like, oh, it's so meta. It doesn't. And so people will say, people who don't like Fate will, especially when they're listening to people who really do like Fate, who really frame it as very meta, will be like, well, I think this is unrealistic. So like a really good example is, why should it be easier for me to die just because I have more consequences? Like, and all these consequences are not even real. Like, I don't get it. Like, what's the point? And so like I get into a fight and I don't have it. Like, I don't like what's going on. It's like, okay, so don't think of consequences as like I punch you in the face, and so therefore you have a black eye, and the black eye is your consequence. So therefore the consequence is that like 1-to-1. But also don't think about it as like a black eye, the consequence is like just whatever. Like it's not, it doesn't really matter. It's just there to like track stuff. It's not like, think about it as, it feels like granularity matters and works more in simulationist games and playstyles, becomes less useful and interesting in narrative games. Right, but and that's why people think that Fate is only narrativist, but I think that it also can be simulationist as long as you think of it as a simulationism without a lot of granularity. So, for example, I always think if you get into a fight, a physical fight in Fate, you do take damage, right? You do get hit, you get cuts, you get scrapes, all those things are happening. It's just that cuts and scrapes are below the level of granularity for the most part. Fate is not, that is like, in the same way that D&D, individual damage to individual limbs is below D&D's level of granularity. D&D does not really care about individual limb damage. It is less granular when it comes to damage than, say, GURPS is. GURPS is more granular with damage, but that doesn't mean that GURPS is now narrativist, because it doesn't care about, or unrealistic, because it doesn't care about whether or not you get hit in the arm. It just means that that is just not part of its level of granularity. So I always think what you do, you have to think about your character does have cuts and scrapes. They do get like injured and like pull muscles, and most of that is what is to me represented by stress. Consequences are for when what happens to you raises above the level of granularity for the system. So it is something now that is going, because basically, if you want to think about fate, run it more simulationist, it cares about bigger things, right? So a lot of things that are smaller are just not as important to it. But once it gets above that level, that threshold, now it's serious. So like cuts, bruises, scrapes, that's fine. We're not going to pay attention to that. That'll be stress that you're going to clear. It's fine. But now actually a broken limb, there you go. That's when you get the consequence. Or, nightmare. And also I think it's important to think about what's important are the three most important things, right? What are the most important things that are hitting your character, right? So if, like when, if you kill someone, like if you get into a big firefight and you get shot, and you take a consequence, and it's a serious consequence, the question to ask yourself is, if you're bringing it from simulation in this way, thinking this way, for your character, what is the most important? Because we're only tracking like basically three major things, 3 or 4, right? I mean, how many consequences? What is the most important and debilitating thing that came out of that experience? And it might be that you actually have a bullet wound. It might be the most important thing, and so that becomes the consequence. But that might not actually be the most important thing that is impacting your character in the game world. It might be now that you have PTSD. That might be the most important thing for your character, and that becomes your consequence. That doesn't mean you didn't get shot, or that being shot is not there. It just means that that's not the most, that being shot is not going to rise above the level of granularity in a way that the PTSD will. So you can see it as being a simulationist game that is just a less granular than something like GURPS. And if you reframe it that way, right? If you reframe it that way, then you can stay immersive and you can play it more simulationist. Now that does mean that when I run Fate, I say no to more things, or I try to get players to sort of think about things in that way. So there are just a bunch of things I'm going to say no to that a different Fate GM might not say. Like I wouldn't let you make a consequence that is not rooted in the game world. That doesn't make any sense, right? So other people would be like, sure, go ahead, right? But I wouldn't do that because I want to keep it. I'm not thinking about it as like some kind of meta thing. And I try to keep most of those things as grounded in the world as possible so that people can stay, or like they can stay more immersed, they can stay more simulationist if they want. Yeah. Artie says, I just consider it, in my world at least, an increasingly powerful enchantment since +1 is considered a match weapon. Yeah. Sal says, I don't care that you got a scratch in your forearm. I do care that you have gaping, bleeding laceration across your torso. One of those is flavor, the other is hit points, right? And Fate doesn't have hit points, right? So you have to like think, okay, hit points is not in Fate, so that's not going to be in Fate. How do we sort of think about this in what does Fate have, right? So, and how do you make that within the game? And of course, I did make some changes in order to make that work better. And I also did not make up all those changes. One of the main changes that I made to bring Fate more grounded, that is not in the core rulebook, but is in Fate Achtung Cthulhu, is that in Fate 4, your consequences clear in narrative time, right? So like once you put a consequence in recovery, a minor consequence will clear after one scene. A mild, a severe consequence will clear after one session, and a major consequence clears after you get a break. So it happens in narrative time disconnected to what's happening in the game. And I was like, I don't like that because that makes consequences really meta, and I don't want it to be meta. I want it to be more a high granularity, a low granularity abstraction. So Achtung Cthulhu changes it so it does not clear in narrative time, it clears in game time. So it will take 2 days. I think I made it a little bit longer than Achtung Cthulhu because I was doing a little bit here. Like it takes 2 days for a mild consequence to clear, 2 weeks for a severe consequence to clear, 2 months for major consequence to clear. So consequences will clear in real time in the game. So what's the difference between mild, severe, and major? Well, a mild consequence is probably like a black eye that might mess up your face and make it hard to chat with people. Or like maybe a pulled muscle, it'll take about 2 days to clear, right? But like then now a broken leg might be a severe consequence, right? So, and then I also then sort of shift. So I've done a couple of things like that to sort of keep things out of narrative time and the game time to just make it a bit more grounded. But those, I also didn't make that up. That was in a Fate book, right? So I've done a number of things like that to just keep it a bit more grounded in real time, to keep it a little bit less abstract. But those things are like, they're supported, right? And I just feel like to sort of say that I'm doing Fate all wrong, or that what I'm doing is exactly the same thing as they're doing, neither of those things are true, and it does not help recruit more people into Fate if what you've done with Fate is make it so narrow that there's no way to find a way into it that might be fun for you. And I just don't know why you know? Yeah. Artie says, I really like the idea of level of granularity. And I think it's important, right? So it's not like this game's unrealistic because it doesn't track your scratches. No, that's just not what it's interested in. You can still be realistic and not track scratches. It's just like what level of granularity is this game. Like you could also track scratches and be unrealistic, right? Like I just feel like granularity and realism are not necessarily related, though people often play the two, but I just don't think they're actually the same, right? Vola says, what RPG games consider critical damage? Mad Max, the poor fella, had a knee shot to pieces and driven over an arm, while Death got shot by exploding bullets to the face and kept going. Yeah, right. This is actually true. Like some games, and what's like, yeah, right. And I really think there's something really fascinating about thinking about it that way. And how can you sort of, for me, like a lot of what I do for Fate, which for many people say it changes a lot about Fate, is really just reframing. I just actually just often reframe things, and that becomes, it changes everything. Just how you're seeing what you're seeing. Yeah. It sounds like at core they're having an issue with one-to-realism. Yes, that's what it is. Sal says, chasing realism in tabletop games, I feel, is a losing proposition. There's always going to be several levels of abstraction. Yeah, what you want is a realistic feeling. If you want, like, you may not want a realistic feeling. If you don't want a realistic feeling, then don't have a realistic feeling. But sometimes what people want is a realistic feeling, right? And for me, a lot of what will make something feel realistic is actually just consistency. But I will also say some people are like, I want it to be really realistic, right? They want it really realistic. And then they create a world that is actually quite unrealistic. I was playing a cyberpunk game with somebody who was like, I'm going to do this really realistic. I was like, okay. But they made it so realistic that we couldn't smuggle things onto a private plane, that we actually couldn't do anything in ways that you can do in real life. Like actually in real life, people smuggle things onto private planes all the time. It happens all the time. So it's not unrealistic to think that you can't smuggle things onto a plane, right? But some people just say realistic, but they mean punishing in ways that are like Audie Murphy was a real person, right? That's one of the things I think is really tricky. Some people, when they say realistic, they just mean miserable. But like some people say, like, it's unrealistic for a person to be really strong and really rich and really smart. And I was like, Dolph Lundgren has like a PhD in engineering and was a bodybuilder and was an actor and was rich and was famous. Like, he actually does exist in the real world, right? Like, he is a real person. So, and Audie Murphy was a real person, and like Mata Hari was a real person. So some people are just pretty extraordinary. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I don't tend to equate realism with punishing miserableness. Because especially when it starts becoming, like, there's a way where it starts getting unrealistic at this point. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like, that breaks my realism. So I just think we have to sort of be careful about how we're using those terms and like, what are we actually doing? Yeah. DSB says, granularity of injuries in my mind is basically the same as how some people can be actively bleeding and still say it's fine. Yes. Other people will get bumped and fall down crying. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Also, adrenaline does a lot. Jabai says, also, does being 100% by the book even actually matter in the end? Like, if everyone at the table plays by the same rule, who cares if some change was made? Right, and Jabai, I feel that way, especially because a lot of my foundational games have a lot of options, are modular and are optional. So there is no one way to play. You can make an argument that there's one way to play Monster Hearts. Some people have made that argument. I'm not going to make that argument. But Fate, GURPS, BESM, even Dungeons and Dragons have big letters saying optional rule, optional, right? Many of them have switches that you can play with, which means there is no one way to play very self-consciously, no one way to play a lot of games. Because even in the books, they tell you there are options, and some of them are only made up of options. So the idea that you're going to customize your game is just like the norm for a lot of the games that I've played. So it's weird to be like, oh, you're not playing it right. I was like, I just picked an option from the Fate system toolkit. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Yeah. Yes. Realism is a style in the end anyway. Reality isn't realistic. Thank you. That is 100% true. Realism is a style, right? It's not the same as reality. Yes. Artie says, you probably want your urban World War II spy game to seem more realistic than a high fantasy, high magic, epic quest game. Right, but that doesn't mean either one of them is more realistic than the other. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want it to feel realistic. That's the feeling. Right? Do you know what I mean? It's like stylistically, I want it to feel realistic. But we are playing a game that has abstraction, right? So what's important is to get the feeling of something. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Let's see. Animators understand this. Making something read as realistic is completely different from faithfully recreating something. Oh, DSP, that's true. You know what else? This happens with video games. There's a whole thing about walking speed, where if video games had the characters walk in a realistic walking speed, no player would enjoy it and they would feel like it was unrealistic. We are not used to characters in video games walk way faster than people would in real life, like way faster. But it wouldn't feel right to us. It wouldn't feel real to us to play a video game where the person was walking, and it would be very frustrating. Like, and the way that people would walk in real life. So, like, you have to make concessions to get the feeling of realism, right? You know what I mean? Like, we have our own feeling of what fast and slow walking is within a video. Yeah. Sal says, I feel like realism GMs also make the mistake of assuming everything is always functioning 100% properly. Yeah. Or, yes, absolutely. Sal says, yeah, there's security procedures when you're trying to smuggle stuff on a private plane to try and prevent that, but there's no guarantee that the security measures are going to work or even be effective. And also, there's really almost no security in a private plane at a private airfield. Like, there's just like a lot of stuff that's like, I mean, there's security, but you're not going through like a metal detector. You know what I mean? Like, there's just, people smuggle things all the time, you know? Yeah. Some people just want to have a boomstick up the bum because rules are the only thing that counts in life and games. Smacks Adam out of the head. Word stalker. Joy says, the fact that realism is something discussed for high fantasy, yes, and the like is proof enough that it is a style, like it is by definition pretty much not recognition. Yeah, and the thing is, you could have a high fantasy game that feels realistic. You know what I mean? Like I could be playing a high fantasy game, and being like, well, that's not realistic. Like, for example, many people feel like this is a really great example of something, a really great example, which is many people do not want guns in their high fantasy. They feel like having guns in your high fantasy is not realistic. Guns did exist in the medieval era. D&D 1st edition had the arquebus, right? Like, you could have gotten an arquebus. Those things do exist at this time period, right? But it breaks people's realism to have guns in their high fantasy sometimes. Because it's not about what really actually happened in our real world in a, say, game that is not even in our real world. It's about, do you get the feeling? Does the feeling feel right? Right? Does it feel realistic for that particular game? And I think sort of recognizing that realism is a style, I think, is really important. I think it's just really important. D&D wagon ride, Oregon Trail style. You get dysentery and you get dysentery. Like, yeah. Autobot. Dysentery and saddle sores for everyone. But even then, not everybody got dysentery. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, it was like a somebody's like, I was talking about doing like a D-Day thing. They're like, why would you play D-Day? That would be a terrible game to run, because if you're gonna do it realistic, all the PCs would die the minute they hit the beaches. And I was like, but not everybody did die when they hit the beaches. Lots of people, yeah, people died, but a lot of people did not die. We're telling the story of the people who didn't die. That's not unrealistic. You know what I mean? Like, people get really weird that way. They're like, oh, but realistically, Joel should be dead. And it's like, but not everybody died. And we're going to tell the stories of those people. We didn't just give up realism. It's just, we're going to tell the story of people who didn't die at the beach, because that'd be a really short game. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, that's just weird. It's just weird. People get really weird when they're hooked up on this. We were having a slightly related discussion on Negorix's channel about people complaining that not having to refill the magical watering fountain you have in Dreamlight Valley. And I made the point that it was a magical watering fountain. It would be less realistic if it didn't have some special properties. What a great point. That is a great point. Having to refill that magical watering can might be less realistic. I love that point. That is a great point. I love that. Right? Because there is a realism for a magical world. And maybe refilling that magical watering can, or also having to maybe polish or sharpen or oil that magical weapon, just might not be realistic, right? In that magical world. I love that. I think that's great. Yeah. Full plate armor at the same tech level as a Gambison. Yeah. There's realism and then there's realism. If full plate exists, fairly functional, though non-rifle firearms exist. Oh, okay, I've got 5 minutes. They did not all die. Our guide in London was the first in line on D-Day because he could speak German and he was around in the 90s to tell the tale. Yeah, so I just feel like sometimes people get really weird about their ideas of what realism is, right, in all these weird ways. So we've retrieved these files. Support would like to remind all employees that this is not the messenger menu. Saving these files will not send a message to another Spatial Choice employee, even if it is saved to the directory with the same name as said employee. Thank you. Automechanical repair, power cycle. With the battery shortage, I need to find a way to recharge Pam in a pinch. Vargas and I have to divide up all the remaining batteries, and eventually even those won't hold much of a charge. At least not if you just plug the unit into the wall as designed. Turns out, though, Spacer's Choice batteries actually only charge at half capacity if you use them as intended. I think it's planned obsolescence. They want the batteries to wear out sooner so folks buy more of them. Doesn't make much sense to do it all in your own facilities, in my opinion, but what the fuck do I know, right? Anyway, I think they found a way to bypass it, at least on the biped modals. If you take 2 similar units, link their power supplies, and initiate a search from one to the other, it should force the battery to its full capacity. Basically, I can double the lifespan of our batteries by having the units jumpstart each other. Not going to use it just yet, though. Always a chance that someone catches wind of it and they close the loophole, so better to save it for an emergency. Alright. Weapons tuning. I cannot believe they gave Pam a damn N-ray cannon. Talk about overkill. There's not much in the known galaxy deadlier than N-ray radiation, at least, and once it's let loose, it's hard to contain. Those living things seem to give it off in microscopic doses, not enough to be harmful on its own, but enough to draw larger, deadlier masses of N-rays from one living thing to another within certain radius. Which means I need to take extra care to make sure Pam's cannon is tuned for maximum precision. If the barrel is even 1 degree out of alignment, you'd think you'd risk thousands of bits in collateral damage every time she fires it. Messages. I'm going to read these messages and then we can go. I love this conversation. To Vargas, keep your head down. Hey, last week a pair of technicians at my designated workplace fell into a pretty bad row. There were a lot of seditious words used. I don't want to repeat them here. Management stepped in. I haven't seen them since. I don't think their indenturement contract were nullified. Otherwise, I would have received a reprimand myself on account of having worked with permanent terminated colleagues. They haven't been in their domiciles. They haven't been at their station. I don't think they were fired. I think they deserted. I'm not going to share their names because I don't want that on my audit record. All I know is this. The office isn't working the way it should. Dr. Ambrose is nervous, and when she's nervous, we're all nervous. Keep your head down again. Michael, one of my colleagues disappeared 3 nights ago. She's been falling behind her deadlines and was medicating herself with AT. I was jealous of her work ethic, so I can't imagine what compelled her to just disappear. Frankly, glad. She was starting to make me look bad. Something strange happening in the office, and I don't know what to make of it. Nothing's going according to plan. Clarence mostly had a phrase he muttered now and then. The Bancroft coefficient is approaching 1. Apparently there's some fellow named Lucian Bancroft. If he's real, Dr. Ambrose answers to him. I think he's a cipher or a codename or something. I don't know how chaotic or messy a project this has to be before that coefficient hits 1. But I know bad things happen when Lucian Bancroft shows up. Contracts nullified, waste disposed, assets eliminated. Yeah, I'll keep my head down. Judith. I wanted to say Judith, which is how you pronounce it. because I knew a unit in Germany. So yeah. So I'm going to leave the game, but I have to read this one terminal, because if I read this terminal, ooh, Halcyon Nights, nice. If I read this terminal, then we'll have gone through, it looks like, everything in this room, so that then we can know that we haven't missed anything and we can move on to the next room without feeling like, without missing. So we just need that one terminal, and then we can go to chat screen.